Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast. I am your host, Michael Ford, joined by new people, new person, back after his successful first foray into the racial draft. What do we want to call it? Trial by fire. Jared Kirschenbaum. Jared, how's it going?
It's going pretty great. How are you guys?
We're doing all right. The listener cannot respond, so I will respond on their behalf. We're also joined by, from the Black delegation, first in our hearts, Randy Smith. Randy, what's up,
I
man?
I have made my way through the multiverse, battling numerous monsters and demons, and finally scraped my way back to you guys.
Okay, so if you were punching holes through the multiverse, what is the shape that is created as you punch through the multiverse?
Um, a black power fist.
Obviously, nice,
Like I
nice.
don't,
Way to
yeah.
play it. Way to play along. Awesome. Well, guys, if this is your first episode, I apologize, but we are going to do what we do every week with the racial draft, and that is change the complexion of the comic book universe, one draft pick at a time. But before we do that, we've got a lot of nerd news. A lot of nerd news. Last week was Comic-Con, and that pretty much monopolized our discussion of all the goings on in nerd culture. But we had some stories, some things worth talking about that we'll try to fly through, uh, you know, on the way as we get to the current day of nerd news. And there was a big story, well, moderate sized story that dropped today. But let's get it going as we talk about our favorite movie about a sex worker on the internet from Sony. That would be Madam Web. Um, the release date for that movie, I believe it was supposed to be this year. Um, no, I'm sorry. It was supposed to be summer 2023, and is now happening in the fall. So October 6th, 2023 will be the new date for Madam Web from July 7th, 2023. So any thoughts about the moving of the web, the shifting of the web, Randy?
Um, I really like. Of course, we don't have a whole heck of a lot of information to go off of to like determine whether we should be hyped or horrified. You know, like it's Sony, so you like kind of have a bit of difficulty gauging there whether we should be happy or whether we should be sort of cautious. But um, if they're putting it off, then all I can say is I hope they make the best use of that time and like get all the VFX and get the script and all of that stuff, you know, on point.
Yeah, I mean, what that may mean, hopefully, is that
Hmm.
we'll get something at Comic-Con next year, talking about maybe we'll even find out by then who all these great cast members are going to be playing. Garrett, do you have any
Right.
thoughts about the Madam Web and the direction that they could be going as they push it back?
Yeah, I believe I mentioned this last time. I'm a huge fan of the Edge of the Spider-Verse comic. I think Day Slott has been doing great stuff with that. So I'm hoping that this kind of mimics that in sort of a way where we get a new, introduction to a bunch of new spider characters, and they duke it out in the multiverse. Take my money.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, in addition to our belief that this is going to be about sex work in the internet,
Yeah.
we also think that it's going to be about the multiverse. Because they got their tastes of the multiverse in live action with No Way Home. Of course, they got their taste of the multiverse in animated form in Spider Verse and the subsequent Spider Verse sequels. So this feels like an all-in move for Sony and the multiverse, and they're casting a bunch of actors who may, for all we know, be spun off into their own,
Yeah.
into their own movies, and try to make Sony some even more money. So that's what I think they're going for. And to that end, like you said, Randy, if they need more time to kind of get everything lined up from a special effects standpoint or some script doctoring, you know, take as much time as you need.
Yeah.
Speaking of the multiverse, it's only right that we talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once, the indie phenomenon, which I think finally crossed 100 million, which is for an A24 movie. That's the most lucrative A24 movie of all time. They're they got a re-release this past weekend, and with 8 extra minutes, so it's everything, more than everything, everywhere, all at once, I guess. um, but yeah, eight more minutes. I did not go to the theaters to see it again, but hopefully the extra 8 minutes will be
So
added.
so so if it's a re-release, like is it just a wide re-release or is it like in a certain limited range? Because like I mean I have some time. I might I got some time, I got a little bit of money. I might have to hop up in the theaters if it's coming to a theater near me.
Well, I mean, you would have seen it already on your on your schedules, because it was July 29th was when they did the wide re-release.
Okay,
So
cool.
check your theater, check your local listings, and maybe it's gonna show for a couple more weeks. It's kind of a light season right now. So if they've re-released it in your area, there could be a couple of weeks before they pull it. There's no Marvel stuff on the docket.
Huh.
There's definitely no DC stuff. Well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Speaking of sequels or movies that uh, you know could be big franchise entertainment, Mortal Kombat officially got a sequel, and they're bringing back the same director, Simon McQuoid. Randy, did you see the first Mortal Kombat?
I did not. Sorry. The hype train for Mortal Kombat, it just kind of flew over my head.
What about you, Jared?
Um, I'm basically the same as Randy. I did see it, but it's almost as if I didn't see it because I immediately forgot about it.
I mean, it
I
was kind of a forgettable movie. Um, I'm
didn't.
so glad that it was on HBO Max and I didn't
Yeah.
have to go to the theaters to see it. So, if you have HBO Max, you can fire it up right now. I would hope that you'd,
Wait
continue to.
until I finish the pod
Yeah,
first.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Listen to the podcast first, before you're underwhelmed by Mortal Kombat. But it was fine. It's fine. It's perfectly acceptable to have on in
Yeah.
the corner of your computer while you do other more interesting things. But
Perfect movie to like watch on a treadmill.
exactly. And I mean, it wasn't offensive, at least to me as like a super non-hardcore Mortal Kombat fan. They did the thing. Our guy though was not compelling as a lead, as he tends not to be. Why am I forgetting his name? Randy, help me out.
Lewis Tan.
Yes, Lewis Tan. Lewis Tan, uncompelling lead, but he tried it. He tried it. Um, but no, I mean, hopefully they'll do better with the second one. Luckily, yeah, we'll call it luckily. They put it out during the pandemic, so they didn't have to get the negative publicity of not making a bunch of money. And I think it
I
did all
mean,
right.
it, it
I think
it
it did all
had the
right in the
added
theaters.
it had the added benefit of being under the category of like stuff you can do while you are quarantining. So there's that.
Yes. But from one movie that we were not too excited about to a movie that we are excited about, Deadpool and Logan, the first R-rated films to be put there right out there on Front Street on Disney Plus, which
Mhm.
bode quite well for the idea that Deadpool 3 will officially be R-rated and sit there on Disney Plus alongside everything else. How do you feel both about Deadpool and Logan on Disney Plus and on the possibility of more R-rated content in your Disney machine?
Um, I feel like this opens up like so many doors. I really hope like Disney looks at this and Disney and as a
Yes.
Marvel fan, I naturally hope for like an R-rated Deadpool movie. Another R-rated Wolverine movie would be great. But you know, mostly that R-rated Deadpool movie. I wouldn't even mind, and they won't do it, but I wouldn't even mind if they gave Blade an R rating. They probably won't, but you know, this Deadpool and Deadpool 2 and Logan being added to Disney Plus makes that a little more possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think they definitely will with Deadpool
Yes.
because it's already been proven that it can make a lot of money as an R-rated movie. But I
Mhm.
think from a development cycle standpoint, I think they're still going to try to figure out how to make these movies work at PG-13, and then
And they
it's
did.
right, and then only if they think that it can't work as a
Mhm.
PG-13 movie will they then consider releasing movies as R. Now, what I think would be very interesting is if they actually went with kind of like a dual release strategy of certain movies coming out in both an R-rated and a PG-13 cut. I think that there are some
Right.
reasons from like a box office standpoint why they might not be able to, you know, because they wouldn't be able to combine the receipts. But you know, maybe it's worth reevaluating the contracts a little bit, because I think that having both an R-rated and a PG-13 cut of a movie might be the best of both worlds.
I mean, I feel like going off that train of thought there, I was, getting ready to say something similar. I mean, you could start off the main release is PG-13, and then be like, hey, when the DVD or the Blu-ray comes out, or when it goes to Disney Plus or whatever, this is gonna be like the more kind of hardcore version of the movie, so we can still sort of get the best of both worlds and get the money making aspect out of it, because obviously if this is rated R, it's going to be kind of more age restrictive, but we can at least still put that version of that out there and still get that money. And then now we're going to bring in the people who are like, oh, we don't want that Disneyfication stuff. We want the hardcore. Okay, fine. You can come on and get on the hype train too, so we can, benefit from everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem would be like, how do you monetize that if it's just gonna be streaming? It makes sense if on a Blu-ray, or it makes sense on a streaming,
Yeah,
pay video on demand, premium video on demand platform,
right.
but less so if you can't put it behind a paywall.
I mean, yeah. I mean that I feel like if you release it on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever, they could just be like, I mean, it's the same thing that they did they did the however many more minutes of the new stuff version with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right.
So
Has
you
that
just,
come out yet? I think that's coming out next month, right? The
I believe
I think
so. Yeah,
so.
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, you
So maybe
come
they'll do it
around.
that way. Maybe
Yeah,
that's what'll happen. It'll be
exactly.
like Deadpool will come out. Well, maybe
And
not
and
Deadpool.
then
And then they'll be like Deadpool extra dirty.
I mean, if I mean, yeah, exactly. You get the main movie, and then you get the DLC that adds the boobs and booty and blood, and that's great.
Well, you guys know that they actually did that with the second Deadpool movie.
Well, they did the
Right.
inverse. They did the inverse with Deadpool. They put it out
Yeah.
as R-rated, and then they put out a PG-13
Hmm.
version of it at
I'll,
Christmas.
yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't love the PG-13 Deadpool.
Oh, I never saw it. So
I
It,
mean, I saw both versions, but that's kind of the point. Like you get to sort of
Mhm.
have the benefit of does the sort of blood and gore and profanity of it all really add more to the content? And kind of sometimes the answer is no, but sometimes it's yes. You know?
mhm.
I would say in the case with Deadpool, personally for me, I do think it does, but like I don't need to see like an R-rated Miss Marvel, you
Yes,
know.
Well,
exactly,
I
exactly.
mean, no, we definitely don't need that. Not at all. Um, but yeah, we'll see how the strategy sort of unfolds as Disney continues to try to do all that it can to get people to
Hmm.
subscribe to its platform. Staying on Marvel, this is a more of a comic story. We had a little blurb about our guy Craven. Craven is he's still a hunter. That's at least that's what what's the actor's name again?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah, I knew he had 3 names. But yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson says some of those reports are not to be believed. Craven will still be hunting, but just ethically. He's just an ethical hunter. Um, he's still an environmentalist, but he's still every bit the hunter that we want him to be. And in that spirit, there's going to be a new Craven comic, Craven the Lost Hunt comic that's going to come out, somewhat timed towards his movie in November. Yeah, he's gonna, we're gonna get a little bit more Craven content in the comics. Do you have strong Craven thoughts, Jared?
Yeah, you gotta love that synergy. But this comic is looking to be like an origin, like a secret origin for Craven.
Yes.
So that could be really cool. I'm not really, dying to see what Sony is going to be doing with their Craven movie. But it's nice to hear a little bit of a clarification from ATJ. The like knowing that Craven will be hunting,
Yeah.
it's
I was not
literally
enthused by
game.
vegetarian Craven.
Yeah. So yeah, the clarification, I definitely really I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I mean, what makes that so like it's sort of sad
Yeah.
that everybody was like, yeah, that seems like something Sony would do. Yeah, like there was no like sort of disbelief and like no, Sony would never do it. Like yeah, it sounds like Sony.
Yeah, that's how you know that the goodwill is gone when every rumor is to be believed about how they're going to bastardize your product. Staying in the realm of comic news, we got some news earlier this week about a Captain America comic event called Cold War. It's going to feature both the Caps, Captain Steve and Captain Sam. I think I haven't been staying current in the Captain America comics. Randy, have you been?
I have, yeah.
Okay, so you can help me out with this. So the Outer Circle, what's that? What's going on with this?
That is, if I recall, because like I read it a few days ago, so but there's a group, a clandestine group of folks that are
Not to
directing
be confused with the
the
clandestines from
clandestines, right. So they are descriptively they are clandestine. they are the adjective clandestines, not the noun clandestines. But yeah, this clandestine group of people that are like, shadowy, sort of, I wouldn't necessarily say government figures, but kind of just like really powerful elite people that are directing various events around the world. And like you have, I guess, wealth, love, like it's different sort of aspects that each player in this quote unquote game is trying to sort of have their move characterized by. And so it was introduced in I want to say, dang it, what was it, the Sentinel of Liberty? Yeah, Sentinel of Liberty, Captain America, and basically they're playing like this game, and so like we're only like maybe 2 or 3 issues into it, but so far it's really interesting. It has Steve is he has this network of elderly folks who sort of keep their ear to the ground in terms of these different mysterious political goings on, and they're contributing their bits and pieces to sort of unravel this thing. And it's like, wow, there's this really just this conspiracy is kind of going on. It's really great political and just socio-cultural conspiracies. It's just so great. And yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be an event that rolls out of it. So I'm very much here for it.
Yeah, and it looks like they're connecting um the books, in this
Mhm.
crossover.
Yep.
And in the Sam Cap books,
Hmm.
they've started to incorporate Wakanda and the
Hmm.
White Wolf. In so I think that's really interesting that you have like, Cap and Wakanda kind of involved. We never got a lot of that when Ta-Nehisi Coates was writing was
Right.
was writing both books. But it's interesting now that he's not involved in either, that we're getting kind of a Wakanda Cap crossover.
Um,
Yeah.
question for you guys.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like we've seen a lot in comics of and in the MCU as well of
Mhm.
the movies mimicking the comics and the comics mimicking the movies. Like you have
Hmm.
Sam Wilson as Captain America in the MCU, as well as Sam Wilson as
Mhm.
Captain America in the comics.
Right.
How do you think the new movie, the Captain America World Order, will choose to mimic some of these newer elements, like especially the villains?
I
So
feel if they did, that would really be dynamic because we kind of I guess in sort of our exploration of particularly Captain Sam Wilson, particularly his has been sort of a deeper dive into the connection of his blackness and kind of just on that sort of like what does Captain America do for the average people and disenfranchised people and stuff like that. So to see this really huge, wide spanning sort of operation back behind the scenes that are shown to be actively doing such dynamically horrible things and guiding society in such wide sweeping ways. I feel like that would be really like I don't know if I would do it for the first movie.
yeah, you see, that's
For,
that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to
yeah,
say that you know that Sam's first movie still does need to establish,
yeah,
kind of like what his Cap is going to be all about, as
yeah. I
distinguished
mean the
from
the
Steve.
right, the event here, it seems like a second, like if you wanted to do maybe the first part of it for the second movie and then the conclusion of it for the third movie. But like
Mm,
to have him like jump straight in,
yeah,
that would be a lot.
yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we'll cover this a little bit later, but I think that if the Wakandan story was a bit more of a status quo continuation of what we got in the first uh, Black Panther movie, i.e., T'Challa was still with us,
Yep.
I could definitely see there being a lot more crossover between Sam and the Wakandans.
Yeah.
But because we don't know what Wakanda's looking like in the years to come, I think it's hard to wrap my head around, like, and respectively, like the viewers kind of wrap
Right.
our heads around what the connection would be between Captain America, even though it's
Hmm.
Black Captain America, like, and Wakanda, when we don't even really know what Wakanda looks like.
Right. Exactly.
That's even more of a reason why we might want to wait a movie before we kind of explore that kind of connection.
Mm.
Yeah.
I just the biggest thing for me for
Mm.
this new movie, I someone mentioned it earlier that Sam really stands alone as Cap from Steve. I think like the most important thing uh is that they don't reuse one of Steve Cap's villains.
Well, they don't really have a lot of villains left, right?
I mean like Hydra, like you can like Del Rusk,
The
like
name, oh yeah, I mean, but he's not a. I've heard of the character.
yeah, like I could I mean the movie's called New World Order and uh Red Skull as Del Rusk did start the
Yeah.
New World Order, like
Mm.
secret shady government, really.
So I've talked about this before. I don't know if I talked about it with you on the show, Jared, but
Mm,
given that this is going to be right in the throes of the multiverse era, I'm pretty like on the table for my prediction that's where Chris Evans is coming back, and he's going to be Hydra Cap from another universe.
Oh, I could see that.
That would
So
be so profoundly amusing.
Yeah.
like multiverse variant, Cap from a universe where Hydra won, and
Sad.
and
I
he's
mean,
the
but and honestly, like, before Symbol of Truth and Sentinel of Liberty had came out, I would have felt like Hydra Cap would have been like too soon.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, basically now that you introduce this new event, which, again, I'm not like the expert on Captain America, so maybe they've done something similar to this in the past, but for this sort of event now to be rolling out, it feels like, yeah, you could have you could have Steve come back as this Hydra Cap person, and sort of not feel like you've jumped the shark, because it would be more in keeping with, especially, the fact that this is like the multiverse saga, and just sort of get that out the way, and then down the line be like, okay, now we're going to build more deeply into specifically Sam's
and
mythos.
and it would make sense. Remember how there was that little kerfuffle when they officially announced the movie, and they were like, and someone from THR was saying like, no word on whether Chris Evans will be returning,
Yeah,
to
that I
the
mean that yes, exactly. That too. That would be the ultimate sort of smug middle finger to all
yeah.
of the people like
No. But
calling
what I
for.
was saying is that what if they had information that Chris Evans was
Oh,
coming back, and they sort
Mm,
of let it slip
because they
that
didn't know, because he wouldn't be as Cap. It would be as
right,
Hydra.
right.
Yeah.
exactly that it's
Okay.
like, that they had some information about Chris Evans being involved in the project,
Mm.
and they were confused about that because he shouldn't be involved in the project. But
Yeah.
if he's, you know, Q Q
I'm
Hail
not
Hydra
mad at that.
Cap.
I'm
So
not mad at that, because we actually did. I mean, wasn't it in game where he actually, we kind of did get him like a nod. He
mhm.
sort of went back and was like, "Hail
Yeah.
Hydra."
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm liking how those dots are connecting. Okay, fine, I'm on board.
Yes, that is good. That is good because, I think that there were some people who would say, "Oh, we don't." There were people who would say we don't need Chris Evans back. And while I think that's true, given what we said before about there not being kind of a high profile villain
Yeah.
to, they already burned John Walker for the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm.
don't want to sort of like put a character that doesn't feel, you don't want to put characters that don't feel quite at the level of Captain
That
America.
that don't bear that gravitas. Exactly.
Exactly. Whereas on one level you get the people who are like, not my Cap, on board with the movie, and then they're like, but is this your Cap? Really? Is your Cap?
Is there a king?
I do think a way to kind of get around that, though, because that is a really good point. Like, what is a Captain America level threat? Um, I really am banking on them doing like a shady government organization not related to Hydra as the
Mhm.
villains. That's I think
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna do, and they have plenty to choose from. They have the Serpent Society, which they can
Hmm.
do. Uh,
But
there's
with a movie called New World Order, it
yeah.
feels bigger than like a Serpent Society where they're just trying to like make minor moves.
I mean, they could be like, yeah, the Serpent Society as we know it is definitely like a more street
Yeah.
I like robbing
Like
banks and
like I
stuff.
said, to me, they're lower than Hydra on the hierarchy.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I do think they could beef them up. There's also like the Secret Empire, the Duke
Mm-hmm.
Red Hoods. They could even do the committee if they wanted to. The
Yeah.
traditionally Moon Knight, I think Moon Knight villains. But yeah, that's at
Like,
least one thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that the fact that this is happening while the multiverse saga is happening around
Yeah.
us, it just feels like we don't want it we don't want the movie to feel smaller
Yeah.
than all the big actions. And Hydra Cap would technically be an incursion. It would be it would tie in to the multiverse saga, even if it was a self-contained story.
Yeah. I was hesitant before, but yes, I'm won over because I feel like that's not like the sort of end all be all biggest possible story that you can manage. Like literally this having Sentinel of Liberty and Symbol of Truth is like, okay, fine.
Yeah. And also one more thing, they still haven't officially said what has happened to Steve in the MCU.
No.
Like he was Joe Biden, and then people started acting like he was dead, but there was the whole thing about, is Cap on the moon somewhere,
He's hanging with the Inhumans.
right. we don't say that word anymore. but yeah, I mean, so that could be an even easier way to kind of close that loop. People
I mean, I just like how creepy would it be? How disconcerting and creepy and most of all timely would it be for us to see like Steve Rogers steps back out kind of into the spotlight and sort of looks like, oh, Steve is back, and actually he's a freaking Nazi. Like that would be
right,
like that would be a lot.
And that could be how you would get Hydra back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like you have Steve as the figurehead. You bring Cynthia, whatever. What's her last name?
Schmidt, right? Isn't
yes,
it?
yes, Cynthia Schmidt. You bring her in. You bring in whatever. Maybe even the Serpent Society. You bring them in.
Computer Zola. Bring back Armin Zola. I love him.
Maybe.
Maybe even incursion in Crossbones. He wouldn't have to do a whole lot of acting in that regard. Maybe yeah.
I don't know though. With Crossbones, will that actor be fine with having play second fiddle to a black man? We know.
No. I'm talking about.
Oh, you mean a different actor?
No, I'm talking about being on Hydra Cap's side.
That's true. No, I was just making a crack about how that actor is MAGA.
He is.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
he's up to some stuff.
Yeah, he's living his raps, is what we like to say.
I mean, but he did want to be the Punisher, the MCU's Punisher. Yeah. I mean,
and he was sort of doing it in one of those Purge movies.
Yeah,
which was why I kind of didn't mind the fact that he wanted to do that. But now, not so much. Now he's just Blue Lives Matter.
Art imitates real life.
Right. But staying in the realm of the MCU, we got to talk about Wakanda Forever, and the fact that in the first 24 hours, 172 million views of the trailer. It would have been more, but people kept stopping and crying instead of restarting the trailer. So it was only, I think, the fourth highest of all time. Actually, a little bit further back, but one of the higher non-Avengers trailers.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just a teaser.
Yes, just a teaser. But again, I still feel more people would have watched it if they weren't constantly hurting with grief. But I personally, I think that if we assume that the movie's going to be good, I think that it has the potential to make more money than the first.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say about the trailer. We mentioned it last week. It's a great trailer.
Well, there's okay. So I will admit, I did not keep up with the podcast last week. I have kind of a bit of a teeny tiny mini little diatribe here.
Let me clear out. Let me clear out for the diatribe.
I had some thoughts and some feelings because when we had the trailer released, obviously it is this beautiful sort of masterful thing, especially for it to have been like, crunched down into just like a minute and so um in terms of content. And one thing that I noticed was sort of uh this I'm not even sure how to describe it, but sort of this little I guess peeing in the punch bowl. I don't know, whatever. But
Undercurrent.
just yeah, I mean, it's just very ugly, sort of. Yeah, undercurrent. I'm gonna say it like that because I don't want to use profanity. So okay, fine, undercurrent of people who sort of diverted the attention away from, and I don't want to specify just black people, but just all of us, kind of loving on Chadwick Boseman and trying to honor his memory and wanting to see this work that everybody's putting forward to make this movie great. All this stuff, the kind of positive, bittersweet feelings. And we got people talking about they're mad because Atlantis has now been, integrated into, has integrated sort of Mayan and Aztec stuff. And like, I guess they don't like indigenous people, which apparently they know nothing about. So I'm not even sure what they have against them.
Hmm.
But there's those people on one hand, and then on the other hand, we have at least one fairly prominent person in the nerd space. I'm not going to name that person, but if you know, who wanted to essentially kind of see more in the trailer in regards to Namor and the society to which he's now connected, which is like,
Mhm.
you realize the movie is called Wakanda Forever, correct?
Right.
Like it's
And
Black
even more than that,
Panther.
right? And even more
It's
than that, like we've seen it. We've seen the structure of generally how movies are promoted.
mhm,
Um, there's a vibes trailer.
right.
There's a plot trailer,
Hmm.
and then sometimes there's a trailer that focuses on the villain. Um, that usually doesn't happen in the first trailer.
Right.
You
Right.
know, this
And
is the vibes trailer. This is the
right.
like, hey
Exactly.
guys, we're doing another movie. This is what the vibe of the movie's going to be. I hope you're on board with it. Get ready, get
I mean, and
your tissues ready because you're going to cry. Like,
right. And
yeah.
and one of the main sort of takeaways from the trailer is that they're aware of the fact that there was already kind of like a sort of um negative anticipation of like, how are you going to handle the T'Challa situation? Like there was already that thing. People were already sort of like apprehensive of like, oh, are they going to try to recast T'Challa? Are they going to like leave him out? What if he leaves? Like, okay, they've already been discussing this stuff ever since Chadwick Boseman, may he rest in peace, passed away. So they had that to overcome first of all, but then you want to turn around and act like, these creative decisions are something um you know, underhanded or something nefarious or whatever. And that's absolute BS. And it's like we sort of, I don't know. I mean, just bringing this up, I guess I had to sort of vent because
Mhm.
it's ridiculous that we even have to have these conversations. A
Yeah, I
person
mean,
passed away who was connected to these movies, but he was not just a character. He's a human being. And
yeah.
at the same time, the 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 content that we're getting in terms of uh, uh, Atlantis, has been renamed Talokan. It's been connected to an existing culture of people as opposed to this fictional sort of hodgepodge, just make
Mhm.
up whatever. Like you're actually giving representation to people who actually do exist and recontextualizing the story in that vein. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's so much more important and so much more um substantial than if you had just kind of done, I mean, especially since we already kind of got it in Aquaman, to get this sort of like nondescript, you know, general sort of thing. DC sort of kind of does that anyway. They get like Gotham instead of the real life equivalent of that, or
Right.
Metropolis instead of, yeah, Marvel
Yeah.
does the world outside your window. That's just it, period.
So this one is a little bit um more complicated, I suppose I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a long-standing history. I think we've talked about this before, but I'll talk about it a little bit more about Wakanda and how like Wakanda isn't a real place, right?
Right.
It is a place that really kind of exists in the consciousness and
Mm-hmm.
imagination of Black Americans. You
Right.
know, with the diaspora, playing a role as well, but it was obviously created in America, right?
Right.
It's based on the idea of like, what if there was an African nation that was untouched by colonialism and
Mm-hmm.
imperialism? What wonders are Black people capable of? If we were allowed to flourish in all of our greatness, and it's tremendously satisfying, tremendously invigorating
Mm-hmm.
to see Wakanda, to have seen Wakanda on screen, but before that to have seen it in the comics. It means
Right.
a lot to Black people that Wakanda exists as a fictional thing, even though it doesn't represent a real place, right?
Right. Right.
But we don't yet know what this version of for lack, I know that it has a term that I'm just not, I haven't committed to memory yet. um
Mm-hmm.
but for the purpose of the discussion, we'll say Atlantis, right? We know that this Atlantis is
Mm-hmm.
going to be steeped in a Mesoamerican culture,
Right.
and parallel that of Wakanda. But because we don't have the extensive history of the way we have Wakanda, it's still, I do think it's an open question as to whether they can
Mm-hmm.
do the same thing to this whatever, like Atlantis, like again, quote unquote Atlantis, right? Like it is an open question as to whether they can portray it with the same kind of deference and cultural resonance. So
Mm-hmm.
far, based on the Latinx people that I follow, for the most part, it's hitting all of the spots for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But again, that's how it's fully executed and fully realized. Like people reserve their right to say that they missed the mark if they end up missing the mark.
Right.
But like I said, like you, I like that they're going for it. One of the things that happened, I remember when they race bent, again, this is what we talk about on the racial draft, right? Like when they race bent Jason Momoa to be Arthur Curry Aquaman, there was some discussion about whether they were going to try to reimagine Atlantis as a Polynesian tinged
Yep.
cultural
Exactly.
place. And I remember at the time thinking to myself, I don't know. I mean, based on the story, like he's an outsider of that place.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the story is going to keep him as an outsider to that place. So there's no guarantee that they're going to create an Atlantis that has that kind of cultural resonance, because of the uniqueness of his story. So that story was always kind of a little fraught, whereas this is less so. And I like what I've seen so far. I like the ideas that are being portrayed here, um, but it doesn't have the same history and it doesn't have the same um, track record of resonating with
Mm-hmm.
Latinx people. I hope A, it hits the marks, and then I hope that B, after it hits the marks, that they find a way to incorporate that into the comic book mythos,
Mm-hmm.
because it would be well received. But I mean, I think it's worth. I think these are conversations worth having, as long as you're not just like shitting on it. I think it's worth asking questions about whether they are looking at all the nuances of it. And it's tough because, like you said, this is a Black Panther movie first and foremost.
Right.
This is not a Namor movie, right? Ideally, someone will get that baton for the next for the next project after he's introduced, and
Yeah,
then
and that
someone
feels like a sure thing. Exactly.
like yeah, and that's the thing. That's not the kind of thing that they would announce ahead of time. They would wait until
Right.
the movie came out before they did
Right.
that. But ideally, you're going to want, a Latino or Latinx in general, like director to realize that vision
Mm-hmm.
and do with that culture and with that place what Ryan Coogler was allowed to do with respect to Wakanda. But in the meanwhile, it's incumbent on Ryan Coogler to not like screw it up, right? And
Right.
to
Exactly.
create an environment where it's a jumping on point and a jumping on point for viewers and jumping off point for the character in much the
Yeah.
same way that T'Challa jumped off in Captain America: Civil War.
Exactly. And I would say to that point, okay, Ryan Coogler is famous, but he's still a human and still specifically a black man. He knows that black and brown people do not have, like, in sort of the American mythos, we don't have an Asgard, we don't have an Olympus, we don't have that. So obviously there's going to be some understanding there, to say, this is sort of your thing. You get what I'm saying? Like you
Mm-hmm.
you understand the importance of creating that space.
Yeah.
And
But
and like
what
sort
I
of,
will say is that,
yeah.
you know, one of the big sliding doors moments, right, is that,
Hmm.
you remember the story that originally T'Challa was going to have a British accent until
Yes.
like Chadwick sort of stepped in and said, no, that shouldn't happen. You
Right.
know, like in that world where Chadwick didn't do that, that becomes a part of the mythos that
Hmm.
is a serious misstep.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Ryan Coogler doesn't have any missteps, and if he does, it's something that can be quickly corrected.
I mean,
But
honestly, but to sort of pivot off of that, I would say that, okay, so as I said, he understands the importance of sort of that, the sort of mythical idea that will be attached to this version of Atlantis. But he has people here who are Latino, Latina, Mesoamerican, indigenous. He has those people being cast there. So I feel like if there was anything there that was sort of out of place, or was sort of like not vibing right with them, or they felt like, I mean, if he wanted to, if he wanted to go the route of the comics, and it would have had that basis as far as comic accuracy, he could have let them other non-Namor Atlanteans stay blue the whole time.
yeah,
He could have been like, nah, we're blue makeup. That's what that is. It's Blue Man Group. I'm blue, dabba dee dabba da. That's it. You blue. That's it. He took the extra consideration to say that even though, yes, you appear blue, you appear alien to the surface worlders, we're going to actually have you, when we get to see you in your space, the people watching you on the screen are not going to think of you as the freaking Navi on planet Pandora. You are a human being. We're able to
yeah,
see you as a human being, and we're going to be
and
able to
and
see
that
your
was
picture and
and
all of that
honestly,
stuff
that
too.
was an awesome choice.
Yes, it
Um,
was. That
and
that
it,
was
and
that
it,
was a perfect squaring of the circle. I love that decision.
yeah, and like you said, I love the decision as well, and it's the kind of thing that does foster confidence in like you said, in the cultural respect
You
perspective.
sorry, are
Mhm.
you referring to when like I noticed in the trailer besides Namor,
Yeah,
Hmm.
the Atlanteans or not Atlanteans
right,
appeared blue when they were on the surface world,
Hmm.
right,
and they were not blue when they were
yeah,
in water.
Right.
Like
exactly.
characters like Namora and I don't think
And Tuma,
Atuma, yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But I'm just in my head. I'm like I remember the one shot of Namora, how she appears. Her like her skin color has changed
hmm,
from what
Hmm.
it was up
yeah,
top. So yeah, that is a really interest. I mean, it's stuff like that. Like I have full faith in Ryan
yeah.
Coogler.
That's the
Exactly.
thing. That's an amazing choice,
Yeah.
right? Because again, we don't know what their origins are going to be,
No.
but clearly, you know, they're a water-based society. So if who they are underwater is who they actually are,
Right.
you know, and if you can see their brown skin, if you can see all of the cultural and the identity elements in their natural state, in their in where they consider to be their home, then that to me is representation,
Yeah.
much more than, oh, they're blue when they're on the surface,
It's
which
it's
is
a
when
it's
they're,
it's
yeah.
it's a very profound decision because when you are out of your natural element, you freaking feel it. You feel it, and
It
it
is
is something that
literal
is
code switching.
but no, but for real, like it's like okay, when you literally are out of water. First of all, fish out of water, that sort of theme there. You really are out of water, and you it's not just an internal feeling. It's like, yeah, people are gonna look at you as if you had blue skin because you do. Like you are a weirdo out of water. So that it's a lot of elements there that it gives me full confidence that Kugler full well understands that this is not something to be taken lightly.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And you know, we'll leave it here because we have more than enough time. You know, the movie's not coming out until November,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, we've got 4 months, sorry, 3 months to keep discussing it, and I'm sure there'll be more trailers. But you know, first impressions, we're feeling good, and you know, it's sad that there's that undercurrent. We're not going to give a lot of space to the undercurrent. To the extent that we do, it's going to be in good faith discussions about, like, you know, reasonable issues and not about
Yeah.
unreasonable things. Um, and yeah, I'm still team Nakia in the suit, but we will find out. We will find out. Listen, I came up with the theory that based. I mean, it's not a real theory, but I'm gonna. But if it comes true, I'm gonna live with it.
Rub it in
Um,
everybody's faces.
but you know, we all saw What If, and we all saw Queen Ramonda,
Mm-hmm.
fight, fight for her people in What If. You know, I wouldn't be mad if Queen Ramonda was in the suit. Just saying, just saying.
No,
Mm-hmm.
Angela Bassett needs her due diligence. Like
Yeah,
she deserves it.
yeah. People would lose their mind if Angela Bassett was in that Black Panther suit.
Definitely preferred over the anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, the Vax Panther. But you know, speaking of Panthers, you know, there is a rumor. It's just a rumor right now, but you know, we occasionally do report on rumors. And one rumor is that there is a Black Panther video game, open world video game in development. I'm not much of a gamer. I don't know if you guys are gamers. What do you guys think of a Black Panther video game?
I'm not a gamer myself, but um, video games tend to sort of spread, I guess, the sort of virality of certain characters. Not as if Black Panther needed the boost, like his profile is very high, but just I don't know. It's a very exciting idea. We don't have a whole lot of sort of venturing out into certain characters and so yeah, if it means getting more sort of outside of like, oh, the Avengers or the Justice League or the whoever, like the sort of go-to people that typically get games and typically are featured in other games, then sure, go for it.
Well, one thing that throws me off is, wasn't there a whole Black Panther storyline in the Avengers game? Like,
Right. It was an addition to an Avengers game. Exactly.
yeah, I mean, so that's a little weird that they, you know, kind of, I don't know if it's the same studio or whatever, or like, you know, I haven't paid close enough attention to it.
Hmm.
But excuse me, but obviously the popularity of Black Panther being what it is, it can
Yeah.
support, you know, we can support multiple you know, content based around Black Panther. One thing that was kind of interesting is that the rumored storyline of the game is that you will be playing not T'Challa. You'll be playing a different character who takes up the mantle of Black Panther after T'Challa has died. So, that's, I mean, I'm sure if you're part of the of that group of people who want to see more T'Challa,
I
they're not liking this.
that is true. However, um, first of all, F those people. And second of all, um, the one thing that has figured very, very, very prominently into Black Panther mythos, especially, I want to say, I mean, it's been there for a while. I don't want to speculate, but it's been there for a while. The aspect that Black Panther is one of a long line of Black Panthers, and we get new mantle bearers, not all the time, but it's happened common enough that it's not some random far-fetched idea.
But I will push back slightly here.
Hmm.
Um, this isn't for this video game. This
Hmm.
isn't a situation where Chadwick Boseman was playing
Right.
this version of the
Right.
video game character.
Hmm.
You don't have to kill T'Challa in every single incarnation.
Oh, no.
You know what I
I
mean?
fully
Like,
agree. I fully agree.
yeah,
I fully agree. I'm
like
just
if he died in the books, I would be very upset. You know what I
right.
mean? If there was
Right.
a cartoon and you know what I mean? If Chadwick
Right.
Boseman's
Exactly.
passing meant that T'Challa the character needed to go away in every media, that would be
Exactly.
that would, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't agree with that. My
yeah.
only point there is that um my only sticking point
Mm.
is that the Black Panther, whoever this new character is, should be black. Like I feel like
Yeah.
that, like you are automatically whatever your name is that you choose, or whatever specific design of like the hairstyle or whatever particular complexion you choose, whether it's caramel or the sort of you should be black. I feel like
Oh,
that should be a sticking point.
I would love a game where, and again, maybe this is just me fantasy booking. Like, I would love a game where like T'Challa wasn't definitively killed, but
Hmm.
he disappeared,
Right, right.
and these were people, like different people, like wearing the
Vying for the
suit,
role.
yeah, vying for the role, but
Right.
and then like later into the game,
They
you know,
find T'Challa is it really has something. Okay, yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
know what I mean, like something like that, where you could then bring in these characters that are known characters
Hmm.
that could be possible heirs to the mantle.
Right,
And
exactly.
then it opens up, again, it's a video game, right? So you could have the different people play as the different known uh characters, and what they could bring to the table as a Black Panther, as a potential
Hmm.
Black Panther, you know.
Yeah,
And again, it's a video game, it's not canon, so you could have a lot of fun with, what is Shuri's Black Panther like, what is
exactly.
M'Baku's Black Panther like, or what is all right, maybe too far to go, what is Everett Ross's Black so
You guys
you die immediately as soon as you put on the suit.
you guys don't want Hunter in this game, right?
Only because Hunter has not been introduced in the movies yet. Like, I'm not against the character of Hunter existing,
Okay.
but you know, first of
As
all,
its
they have
own thing though,
yeah,
right?
first of all, they have to, like, that would be, hopefully, if they do the spin-off series,
Hmm.
he's a character that could show up in the spin-off series,
I mean, if he
because
shows up, I feel like I want him to show up, but I want him to show up in I mean, like his role, like not because the version of the White Wolf mantle that we have in Bucky is like I am allied to I'm allied to Wakanda, and they're like we're on friendly sort of terms. Hunter,
not so
I mean,
much, not anymore.
yeah, but I mean, but Hunter, I would put it this way: Hunter, his relationship with Wakanda is different from Bucky's. I'll say that
Yes,
much.
100%.
And he is not the same character, and that's why I'm sort of like uh not loving the idea that people are like, oh yeah, he's White Wolf, and so we don't really need Hunter. Like, no, we I mean, if we had
Yeah.
her, like, not that he's imperative, but if we did have him, it's not as if you'd be retreading the same
Mm.
ground. I'll put it that way.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think that if they were, I mean, we've never, I don't know if we've talked about this on the show, but like the time to introduce Hunter would be this movie.
Yes.
Um, because what you could do is you could have him show up as kind of like, hey, I heard about what happened with T'Challa, so
Yeah, I mean
like I'm
the first movie already like mentioned the war dogs, the Hattusarazi. So
yeah,
we like have that ground primed for like, hey, now we actually bring them in and like get to
yeah,
see some of
and and
those.
and and he could be basically the prodigal son, right? He
Mm-hmm.
can be the person that was kind of exiled from
Yeah,
Wakanda because he, did things, not necessarily in a honorable way,
precisely.
but
Exactly.
because T'Challa's gone, they're giving him another chance,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's where he could be that kind of low key type character,
Yep.
where it's like, do you trust him? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but that's a good character to have in the mythos,
Yeah.
like where it's like he's a brother, but he's not a brother. you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, how much do we trust Hunter? And I think he's a good character to have in the mythos, but if he's not introduced in this movie, it's hard to imagine a better way to introduce him.
Right. This is definitely the best place, and if not, then like you're sort of waiting out there, and like whenever Okoye's thing comes out, which eh,
No, at that point, at any point after this movie, you have
mm-hmm.
to actually do the work of
Of the explaining,
explaining
right?
where
Exactly.
was he when
Right.
when T'Challa died, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Exactly.
Whereas if he shows up in this movie, then you can say, well, he wasn't allowed to come back, but we made an
Mm-hmm.
exception because he's mourning his brother.
Right.
And then whatever he does from that point on is kind of, he's off on his own tangent. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for it. I mean, that would be a great character to sort of us to not know about until we get him in the movie. That wild card character. And we're seeing it in the comics. He's definitely more of a wild card, and I like it.
Yep.
But yeah, so we'll hear more about this video game as they continue, as the rumors continue to spill out. But I'm hoping it happens. I mean, that might be a thing that gets me back into gaming, guys. Um. Oh, and now we're into current news. One of the bigger stories of the week. We actually got two directors for upcoming Marvel Studios projects. We'll start with the lesser of the two stories. Jake Schreier was announced officially as a director of the Thunderbolts movie. I am not familiar with Jake Schreier's work. What about you, Jarrett?
I think if there are like two movies of his that I've seen.
Okay.
He also did a couple TV shows, but the two movies, he did Paper Towns, which was like a rom-com with the Enchantress from Suicide Squad.
Oh, I don't remember the actress's name,
Yeah,
Cara
but
Delevingne.
yeah, her.
Carl.
She's in
Okay,
like Only Murders in the Building, I think.
Yeah.
got it.
Um, uh, it was fine. Not my cup of tea.
Mhm. What was it? You said it was a kind of a rom com.
It was like a YA, not really.
Okay.
So it was it was like a young adult. Like it wasn't really a like a
Okay.
romantic, not comedy though. And he also did this movie, Robot and Frank, which was good.
Okay. What was the tone of that?
That was like a quirky comedy.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
it says that he's got credits on Dave from
yeah. So
FX. So
yes.
what I'm wondering is he bringing a comedic element to the Thunderbolts?
Like I'll be honest, not a lot of his not a lot of his profile of work screams Thunderbolts to me, but I mean, I'm always apparently he had a great pitch, so
Mhm.
what a director has done in the past isn't always indicative of
For
what
sure.
they can do. I mean, take a look at the Russo brothers, like
Right.
so Frank and Robot and Frank was good. It doesn't scream Thunderbolts to me, but I'm excited to see what he's got up his sleeve.
Well, what I'm thinking is that, we've talked about this, like there are so many different things that the Thunderbolts could be
Yeah.
that I'm almost trying to use his signing as an insight into what Marvel's vision of the Thunderbolts might be. So
I'm
like
yeah.
if he's done like quirky, somewhat comedic stuff, then maybe that's the tone that they're trying to strike for the Thunderbolts.
Maybe I'm just kind of hoping that it doesn't end up being like Suicide Squad light.
Oh no. That
Yeah.
is on the board. I mean, I know I wrote a thing, Murphy's Multiverse, that you should all read. So shameless pitch, shameless plug there. But like, the tone that I'm hoping that they strike with Thunderbolts is not Suicide Squad 2.0, but it's more like a Wink, like heist caper movie.
That could be cool.
Where we're clued in to the fact that the Thunderbolts are trying to run a con
Oh, I
on,
like that.
But to
they're
the
trying.
world, they look like they're heroes.
Yes, exactly.
Like
Like
do
they're
like the
trying.
Citizen V and all that.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Like they're like, we know more than everybody else knows that they're trying to con the world into believing that they're superheroes when they're actually supervillains. So we see the plot take shape of them
Mhm.
like putting together their scam. And then we also see, obviously, in true heist movie fashion, we see things start to fall apart, as they try to get steps down the line into scoring, getting the big score. So like the plan is they form the team, they convince everyone that they're the superhero team, but they're not, and they want to do a big score, and then the big score kind of, like does what these movies do. Just they don't doesn't things don't go as planned. So yeah, we're back. We had technical difficulties, but we're still here, and we are talking about the Thunderbolts director, Jake Schreier, with the screenplay written by Eric Pearson. And as I was saying before, I hope that they strike a tone that is less of a Suicide Squad 2.0 and more of a heist style movie, caper style. And any final thoughts about the Thunderbolts before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I like that idea a lot because that was sort of the original concept. I haven't read the comics myself, but I'm told that that was the original concept, that they were like, pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. And I feel like that would be a really unique spin, as opposed to a Suicide Squad, which that name keeps getting thrown around. And it's like, if you read the comics, or if you at least know people who have, then like, no, that's not what they should be.
I mean, I totally agree. It does have to be more than just the Suicide Squad again. I think, just personally for me, I think it would be cool if they explored like what makes a villain. At like in this, universe, Marvel has had such like and they've kind of gotten over it a little bit, but like a villain problem. Um in the past, I guess. Some of it feels like they shortchange a lot of their villains
Mm-hmm.
so they can, really tell the best story
Mhm.
for their heroes. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, you kind of shortchanged Ronan to really make the Guardians great.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like
Mhm.
even like they could get a little on the nose with that if they want to. But like really exploring
Oh.
anyways, I just really I'd like a little bit of like espionage in this as well.
Mhm.
Since you're probably gonna have characters like Yelena in this and Ghost and maybe Taskmaster can be in this and not bad.
And now we're back again. But the next story deals with the next director, and that is the movie Avengers Kang Dynasty. Also got a director news, and this was a returning director, uh, Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton. I, of course, was a fan of Shang-Chi, so I was glad to hear about the new director. What did you guys think about the choice?
I mean, I'm here for it. Like, I mean, you sort of, in terms of Ryan Coogler, like we we could have had the impression that one director would be sort of the CEO of one particular branch, and like that's sort of all they would focus on. But I mean, yeah, give him if he suits that story, then that's great. I'm happy that they're like trying to pay more attention to what serves the story as opposed to just like, oh, this person wants to do the thing and they may not be the best qualified for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Jared. Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, Shang-Chi, in my opinion, was the best Phase 4 movie. I'd say there's an
So
argument.
far.
Yes, so
Yeah.
far. I mean, could be No Way Home, but I'd say Shang-Chi was fantastic. I heard like someone pointed out, it seems like if you direct the best movie in your debut phase, you will go on to direct the Avengers movies. So the Russo brothers, directed Winter Soldier
Mm-hmm.
and ended up directing the next two Avengers movies. So I mean, Shang-Chi, best phase 4 Marvel movie, now directing Avenger movie.
Now, do you think that him taking on this role means that Shang-Chi will take on a major role um, in Avengers Kang Dynasty?
Well, not necessarily, because remember you saw with Infinity War, I think Cap only had like 5 minutes of screen time in that movie. Though, so
But those 5 minutes were pretty damn impactful.
yeah, he was the guy who knew a guy. Um,
Well,
but
and I was just thinking about how like he had that like first of all bearded Cap, right, and then
yeah,
he had like this that he comes out of the shadows, and that's like one of the big crowd pop moments in that movie.
yeah. So maybe Shang-Chi will be have a bigger role in this, if not probably Secret Wars.
Okay,
However, uh Destin Daniel Cretton will not be directing that.
right,
So
yeah. So I mean, yeah, we don't know yet who'll be directing that movie,
give it
but
to
that would be kind of cool. But no, I mean I'm very curious about that. Avengers: The Kang Dynasty um definitely seems like it's going to be Kang focused, in much the same way that Infinity War was Thanos focused. So maybe we'll get a lot of his backstory, and maybe his backstory will intersect with with China, with some of the like extensive mythos that was covered in Shang-Chi with respect to the 10 rings.
Mhm.
But I mean, we don't know that for a fact. We're just wildly speculating because
I mean, to be fair, I mean, just like any fan, I'm sure that Mr. Cretton is very he enjoys Shang-Chi, but I mean they're allowed to like more than one character. So shoot, we might get somebody else kind of like front and center, and I don't know. I'm interested because like it it is a departure away from directing just a single character. And so like I personally I don't really know his filmography. I don't know about his work, but I haven't seen him do anything in terms of like um any dynamic other than Shang-Chi. So,
Yeah.
I really am very interested to see how we get an event movie from this guy who I normally think of in a solo kind of, lower profile or lower scale movie context.
Yeah. And one of the things that we should mention is that even in the case of the Russo brothers, they did Winter Soldier, but then they also did Civil War,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was, in a lot of people's mind, an Avengers-ish movie.
Avengers 2.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of people do feel that way. And so this is definitely a bigger jump from a
Yeah.
solo character into like a massive event movie. So not to say that we think he can't make the leap. It's just to say that it's a leap that we hadn't expected. So
It's like get you a man who can do like street level Shang-Chi and who also can do wide scale.
multiverse, um,
Exactly.
cosmic shenanigans for sure.
Um,
Speak. Oh, go ahead, Jared.
Actually, I was thinking back on because I have seen a couple other of Mr.
Oh,
Craig's movies.
cool, cool.
So it's interesting because he made two movies come to mind. Just Mercy with
Michael B. Jordan.
yeah, with Michael B. Jordan, Jamie
Mhm.
Foxx, and a movie called Short Term 12, which was great. Both of which feature Brie Larson in a pretty main role.
Interesting.
So
Hmm.
I mean, maybe he'll beef up his buddy, his buddy Brie Larson, to a leading, leading role.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll
Hmm.
see. We'll see how that plays out for sure. And we still don't yet know the role that the Marvels will play in the ongoing saga, as it were. So, fingers crossed that they have a chemistry, and he's got an ability to sort of like push her to the forefront. Sort of staying. Well, this is a different kind of multiverse shenanigans. We got news this week that Ben Affleck, he of the Snyderverse, will be returning to DC Films. He will be showing up in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Um, I think that while there were some questions around his casting, I think that generally speaking, the opinions about his portrayal of Batman have skewed towards a positive. But most people assumed that his last appearance would be in a very brief cameo role
Mhm.
in the alleged Flash movie um, that is supposed to come out in June 2023. Do you have any thoughts, Jared, about Ben Affleck potentially returning for Aquaman and Lost Kingdom, and whether it means that he might be back?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I literally couldn't care less. Um, I never really loved him as he was a perfectly fine Bruce Wayne, but I never loved him as Batman, and I'm not a huge fan of Batman v Superman and
Mhm.
Zack Snyder's Justice League. So whatever. I mean, uh, you know, Ben Affleck can claim that check, and it's fine by me.
Okay, all right. What about you, Randy?
Um, I'm slightly more emotionally inclined here. I will say that that is one of the few bits of good news that has come out of the Snyderverse recently. Like I genuinely did like Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne, and I liked him as Batman. The only question here is he getting better script, which I feel is going to be the case because look at the previous material. So like you can't really go much lower than that. I sort of the background circumstances here come into play in terms of Mr. Affleck's personal life and what all is going on there. And so it looks like things are looking up for him, and I'm happy that he's sort of turning things around and having a better go of things. And so if he wants to be back, that's great. And sort of being in that positive mental space and um sort of kind of threading the needle of like the Snyder fans kind of getting what they want, except not with Snyderish writing. So we can all sort of enjoy him as an actual Batman, like actually being the Dark Knight detective, not the whatever the other thing was. Yes, I would love to see him get a better script, and I will say that I will die on that hill. I will die and come back as a zombie on that hill. Yes, you should get a better script. And other than that, I'm here for it. I really hope that um, I don't know. It makes me feel positively. I will say that.
So, at the risk of being controversial, I'm gonna say something blasphemous. As much as I like Michael Keaton as
Mm-hmm.
Batman, I love those movies. I was not overly psyched about Michael Keaton um, sticking around in the DC films as their Batman.
I mean, if it's
Um,
if it's blasphemy, then let us blaspheme together because I feel like okay, look, so I don't think that it's wildly out in left field for us to say that he would have been great as Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond movie. I feel like that would have been awesome and everybody would have been on board for it, but also it would have been Batman Beyond, not like a whole expansive thing. Like, so yeah, to have him as just Batman going forward, like it feels so out of place. And I'm not even sure exactly why. I mean, certainly not because he lacks any physicality, but just the sort of uncanny valleyness of it. I just was not here for it, and so yeah, I feel like if we get Ben Affleck, um, and sort of soft reboot and be like, yeah, the Snyder stuff kind of happened, but kind of didn't. Just roll with it. Then I
yeah, I mean,
feel.
like I said before, I mean, way back
Hmm.
when before Ben left the role,
Hmm.
I kind of felt like the right place for, elder 50 something Batman was something like Batman Incorporated,
Yeah.
you know, where you recognize that there's a whole Bat family out there, and he could even do the thing where, like in Batman Incorporated, where everyone knows that Bruce Wayne is somehow affiliated with Batman, even though they don't know that he's actually Batman, and make him kind of the nexus point for Batman adjacent stories, even if you never actually have a Batman solo movie,
Yeah,
Like I
but
think that
at the
he can be
same.
useful. I think he'd be useful in that role
Like a
more,
Nick
even
Fury
more
type
so.
guy.
Well, even more than Nick Fury, because like Nick Fury's not like around all the time. Like he pops in, he like says a couple things and then he moves chess pieces around. Like I'm
Mhm.
fine with him as the mentor character for these younger Bat family characters, Nightwing, Batgirl, all those. Like
Okay, so
more
so
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 than more so than Michael Keaton is what I'm saying.
right. So sort of piggybacking off of that, yes, I absolutely am here for less Batman, more of the Bat family. Like that sounds like the perfect green pasture for me. Like, yes, sign me up for that. But
Yeah.
conversely, it's it that relies on Warner Brothers wanting to do like Bat Family. Like they, as far as movies go, they haven't really seemed like they're very interested in doing much in the way of like family stuff, like expanding beyond the solo hero.
Right, but when you think about the fact that they chose to draft like I mean draft, they chose to cast like a 40-year-old, 40
Yeah.
something year old Ben Affleck to play Batman
Mm-hmm.
and incorporate into his story that he had been Batman for like, 20 years, 15 to
Right.
20 years. So in my mind, if you're going to have that be your Batman's, I'm too old for this shit, orientation, what comes with that is that
Mm-hmm.
he has this extensive
Oh no, yeah,
history, you know.
I fully agree. But again, this is like the guy that they allowed to set up that universe was the same guy who said, "Hey,
Sure.
who's that dead Robin? That's Dick Grayson."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's
Right. And
it's
I'm
like
not saying
no,
that you should accept, I'm not saying you should accept that part. Right. I'm not saying like there's, you can finagle a lot of things to make, again, to make that Snyder stuff not canon.
yes,
Right.
we
Yeah.
need to do some fearsome finagling because
Yeah.
that's
but but if you're going to like, nowadays, both Ben Affleck the person and Ben
Mhm.
Affleck as Batman, generally speaking, people feel pretty positive about,
Correct, exactly.
so if there's a way to have him be a presence, and if we were for, like, again, maybe it's controversial, but if I had to choose between, you know 5 to 10 minutes in ongoing movies of Ben Affleck as Batman, or 5 to 10 minutes in ongoing movies of Michael Keaton as Batman, sign me up for sign me up for Affleck.
If it is controversy, then in the words of our lovely Queen Cersei, I choose violence. I do not care. I don't care about the controversy. Yes, I absolutely want Ben Affleck to come back if he so chooses. It is, sign me up. I want it. I really do.
So again, I mean, we already have Robert Pattinson, and I like that first movie. I know a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people have, for some reason, are not that into it. Um, like, I'm fine with more movies in that universe,
Mm-hmm.
but if there's going to be a connected universe, and if you're not going to come up with a whole brand new casting for Batman, I'm fine with Ben Affleck being the dad of the Bat family.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And
the fact of the matter is, you already have basically you could have your cake you could have your cake and eat it too in one universe where Batman is solo and he's kind of just starting out, got his gets into his groove, and then the one where he's like already seasoned and has like branched out and has his family slash army of bat vigilantes. So yes, I feel like that's perfect if
and
they
it,
elect to go that route.
yeah, and to me, it's Ben Affleck is enough of a movie star
Hmm.
that just a small amount of him is is enough to elevate these other characters.
They
Like,
could,
Go ahead,
oh,
Jared.
they could totally get away with doing two Batmans. They could get away with doing three Batmans if they did
Oh,
one
listen,
altogether.
yeah, the appetite. Listen, Randy doesn't agree, but the appetite for Batman is endless.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Like,
I agree. It's just not personally my appetite.
I
Like, I mean, it's like okay, look. So I will say to just quickly, I will say that yes, you're absolutely right. We could have had like you know 2 movie Batmans, and if they wanted to do a totally different Batman over HBO Max, they absolutely could. But like the sort of um role here, like if they wanted to, again, they could possibly do like a single Batfleck movie and the rest of his time in the DCEU be like, I mean, he's not an old guy. Again, he's not an old guy. He's in pretty good shape. He could be there for like a good little minute and being in that sort of
yeah,
mentor father role that you described.
Yeah, and that's the thing for me. Like, while the appetite for Batman is endless,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that the best use of the actor and the character for kind of reestablishing the universe is doing only solo movies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if we have a Batgirl movie that's happening, we
Mm-hmm.
have a Nightwing movie in development, we had a Harley
Alleged
Quinn.
Nightwing movie in
Yes,
yeah,
development.
we had a Harley Quinn movie. Like, we had, like, potentially Black Canary. We had, some Birds of Prey stuff. Like, there's room for Bruce Wayne to be an ongoing character
Mm-hmm.
that helps to unite these stories.
And believe it or not, like of the relatively few positive things that came out of the Zack Snyder Justice League, like we ended with Bruce in a pretty good place mentally, like feeling more faithful and kind of having a more positive outlook in the. I mean, that would be a perfect kind of jumping off point, even if you didn't want to actually acknowledge the
Mm-hmm.
movie that spawned that, to be like, maybe I need to reestablish with my folks. Like, we
Right.
might have had whatever static going on, but okay, now I need to try to reassess my personal views about myself introspectively and my relationships with, XYZ Bat family member.
Right. And we like to call that a soft reboot, right? That's a great
Correct.
way to soft reboot, you
they
know?
could have those characters running around. Like, I don't think you have to do all that work in like a Batman
Hmm.
No,
movie.
you really don't.
Exactly.
They could say, hell, Jason Todd is running around.
Yep.
Like,
You listen,
you do
you
that.
could start the next, maybe not Batgirl, right? I don't know what they're
Right.
doing with
But
Batgirl.
Batgirl can do some work also.
Yeah, for
Like, he
sure.
probably will.
If they,
But, like,
again,
if
if
they
they want.
choose to go that route. But,
Yeah.
like, but you could I could imagine a movie that, like, starts off with, like, you know, Bruce Wayne and, like, the whole fucking Bat family, including, like, Batwoman, including all of the Robins, including adjacent Batgirls, or whatever, like, and it's like, you're probably wondering why I brought you here today. I learned, through my extensive network that there's some crazy shit going down. And I know we've had our differences, but we've got to work together, to uncover this big, massive conspiracy, you know, and people, like, looking around like, Bruce, but, we weren't the last time we spoke. You said you never want to speak to me again. Yeah. But, like, we gotta do this. Like, and it's like, all right, boom, Bat family's back,
You do like a
bitches.
Gotham.
And see that, like, okay, these conversations are like, I always end up mad after these conversations, because we always like end up having these conversations like, yeah, that would be a great turn in the status quo, and then reality has the audacity to check in and be like, nah, actually we're not going that route. But yes, I do like this idea a lot. I feel like they, the room is there, ample room to Gotham is a big place, the world is a big place. These characters could be anywhere, and we wouldn't have to like do too much in the way of like, where were you when such and such event? Because we haven't had a whole heck of a lot of events that would have necessarily required their presence.
Yeah, I mean, just like, occasionally my friends are out of town, and they can't come to the party. Like, that's just as easy enough, especially if they were having some fights. By the time they got caught wind of the latest Gotham catastrophe, it was too late. It's easy. It's not a lot to explain. They're not superpower beings that
Right.
can get there at the drop of a hat.
They're not the Eternals that are like, why weren't you there when Thanos? Blah blah blah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm here for more Bat family. I, I no offense, love me some Michael Keaton as an actor. Loved him as Batman, but I don't need him to be. the Batman
Right.
of the DC movies if Ben Affleck is open to coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So, staying in the realm of DC, kinda, we finally got to talk about Super Pets. Did either of you see the League of Super Pets?
The trailer I saw.
Okay, well, that movie opened up last weekend. Uh,
Okay.
it it was supposed to it was projected for 25 million, which is kind of low. I don't in North America. Uh, Underperformed a little bit, 23 million.
Hmm.
Um, and I think worldwide it ended up with 41 million. Again, low numbers. I know animated movies tend not to make as much as live action movies, but I gotta think the DC's a little bit bummed that it didn't kind of blow up at the box office, considering it's kids entertainment. The trailers were cute. It
Mm-hmm.
seemed like the kind of thing that the people would enjoy, but it just didn't really attract people to the cinema.
especially with like The Rock and Kevin Hart headlining that
Yeah.
cast.
Mm-hmm.
I expect better from a movie starring The Rock as a Superman dog. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, it's animated.
yeah,
It's not. I obviously we know that things are happening in the real world with respect to COVID and monkeypox, what have you. I don't think that I don't think they did a lot of a push at Comic-Con for this movie. Obviously, there was a whole thing about the shuffling of the dates. This was originally supposed to be, I think, Black Adam's date. Um, so yeah, I mean, the marketing wasn't what it could have been. And then again, we're talking about DC. The goodwill's not there. It's not a must-see movie. It's not impactful. I understand, like, even as someone who thought that the movie might be good, when push came to shove this weekend, I ended up not going to see it. And I wonder if, a lot of other people were in that situation where they were kind of like, I could go either way on it. And then, at the end they decided not to see it.
I mean, I don't know. It felt kind of basic, like just watching the trailer. And I hate to say that because again, I'm a DC fan. It's not like I enjoy putting down these movies or whatever, but I didn't feel particularly like the one or two times I watched the trailer, I didn't feel like you know wow, this is something, no, I just was like, okay, fine, it's happening.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if a number of people felt similarly, and then you have the contingent of people who are like uh bitter with sort of Warner Brothers whole DC situation. So yeah, a number of negatives came in, and I mean it's still like within the range of projection. So at least it wasn't like um, I forget what it was that was there at least it wasn't like a Morbius situation.
Yeah. And then listen, and Minions is still out there and doing killer numbers. So if your kids, if you got kids, then they probably want to see Minions
or
before they want to see
or
Super
or
Pets.
if you have some young middle schoolers and high schoolers apparently dressed up as like in the suit or whatever.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I was told. You got to wear a suit and go see Minions. But listen, like I said, I heard it was good. I will check it out eventually, but it didn't move the needle.
Mm.
Uh, Staying in the DC realm was the final big story of the day, and that would be that what we had projected finally came to pass.
Mm-hmm.
The Flash television show, not to be confused with the alleged Flash film, um, will end. The Flash is coming to his final run. The 9th season will be its last. 13 episodes, so in a truncated season, which will kick off as far as the mid-season. So it's not going to launch in the fall. Barry Allen, the only real Barry Allen that we recognize, is going to hit the final heat. Any thoughts, Randy? I know you, like me, are a big CW Arrowverse head.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of salty that they didn't like give us the 10th season, which literally would have been sort of close to the timeline that was originally projected in the first season. Like that's sort of frustrating to me. And on top of that, if the nerd media outlets are to be believed,
Was it 2024 when he disappeared in the
I
crisis?
I think so.
Okay.
But of course, the timeline changed. It was like he disappeared because of some other reason, but it was something along those lines.
Okay.
But what I will say also is that I believe we were at 699 episodes or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Like I saw a graphic. I'm not sure how accurate it is, but like you can't even give us the decent like 700, like a nice clean
Wait.
number.
There is no way they did. Are you talking
No,
about
no, no.
the
Of the
entire
Arrowverse
Arrowverse?
overall. Right, right, right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm like, you can't even give us a nice clean number to end off on. We could have just been like, yeah, 700, and like it
Well, I
didn't last
mean,
forever, but it was a nice run.
did they take those episodes of Superman and Lois out, because we
No,
now know.
well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like Superman and Lois and Stargirl, they don't count, and it's like, you could have. I don't know. It's just it feels like there's just a lot of sort of injustice being
Well,
dealt to our poor little Arrowverse that could.
I mean, not to be confused with the injustice that people love. But
Right.
I mean, we poured a little bit out for the Arrowverse a while back.
Hmm.
We knew that it was in its last legs. We knew that these shows were being sunsetted, and that the network was being sold, and that they were going a different direction, towards potentially TV shows being connected to the movies.
Hmm.
It was only a matter of time. I'm not mad at it. I mean, this show ran its course.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that they'll go out on a high note. I hope that they'll find a way to bring back, some of the actors and some of the, um, cat like heroes that are not dead, and again, end on a high note.
Hmm.
It feels like it's time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's fair,
I
obviously. I
mean, it's just
just,
kind of ironic that, I believe that Grant Gustin and Ezra Miller were cast in the same year,
hmm.
and one Flash is probably going to go out on a high note, and another Flash not the same thing.
Uh, one of the flashes is moving in a positive direction, and the other flash is moving in, one might say, the reverse.
So, um, so yeah, I mean, we'll continue to celebrate Grant Gustin's incarnation of the Flash, and we'll see whether the Flash show, um, you know, runs its course before the Flash movie even gets a trailer, or we even find out what happened to Ezra. Um, Jared, do you have any thoughts about the Flash before we move on?
Yeah, it's just sad, it really is the end of an era.
Hmm.
I hope that the Flash gets remembered like for what it really was, which is like a fresh, like optimistic take on like a classic character that Warner
Mm-hmm.
Brothers wasn't really doing anything good with to begin with. Like those CW shows were like the DC universe for like a long for like a good amount of time.
Mhm.
And it's definitely like you said, it's definitely run its course, no pun intended. But um, I just
Sir, and on this chat, we intend our puns. Thank you very much. I take issue with that part. We intend our puns around these parts. Fuck up.
sorry. Yeah, run its course, pun intended. But I just hope it goes out on a high note.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. And a final news story before we dive into our racial draft business. Uh, Shocking news in regards to the Tomb Raider video game series or movie series based on the video game. MGM was like, nah, we're good. No more Tomb Raider on our platform. We're giving up the rights. Alicia Vikander no longer playing Lara Croft. Did she ever? She only played the one. She only did the one movie, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's now a bidding war for the rights to the Tomb Raider franchise. MGM, was recently purchased by Amazon. They don't want it. So yeah, we'll see what happens with the new lead and the new um, studio.
Who the heck looks at Laura Croft and is like, nah? Like, okay, sure.
I was a little disappointed. I mean, I thought the first one was a little mediocre, but Misha Green was writing that the sequel,
Mhm.
and Lovecraft Country was amazing.
For
A show
sure.
that she created.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was excited to see what she would do, and sad we'll never see it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe we will.
my guess is that MGM, they're before they were purchased by Amazon, they were having some struggles with respect to what they were lining up and what they were developing. This was not within our purview, but they ended up pushing back Creed 3. That's not coming out as scheduled for the fall. I think that there's just a lot going on the MGM side as Amazon takes control, and I think that they want a clean break. I think they want to streamline whatever franchises they have. And like you said, the first film was a little mediocre, and I don't think that they want to be beholden to to that to that film. So yeah, so I mean, I get it. Amazon doesn't need the money, so there's I think they're just trying to clean up MGM, and I think that I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Universal, gets a hold of the Tomb Raider franchise and tries a new direction for it. Randy, you have any thoughts about Tomb Raider?
I have not seen the movie, the recent movie. Like the last time I saw Tomb Raider anything, it was with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
So
Look,
yeah, but
if now here's the thing, if they announced that Angelina Jolie was coming back to play Lara Croft in a new Tomb Raider movie, they might get me back, guys.
I mean, okay, so I watched those two movies and I enjoyed those movies. I heard not so great things about the latest one. Um, I'm not, I haven't played the games or anything like that, so that's literally my whole vantage point of understanding Lara Croft as a character. But obviously, I want to see her, you know, done justice. And so if they feel like they're not interested, I would rather they go ahead and um open the floor for someone who is interested and willing to invest the resources, the time, the effort, then just kind of like keep the rights and like Sony's doing with Spider-Man characters and kind of like oh no, we can't let go of this gold mine, but we're gonna like kind of put out a half-hearted effort to you know with the characters that are involved therein. So yes, good move sounds like to me.
Yeah. And that concludes our nerd news. When we come back off this break, we're going to get into the racial draft business. Chicka, 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 choo. And we're back. Racial draft business is brought to you by no sponsors, brought to you by the Patreon that we urge you to subscribe to. Currently we don't have Patreon supporters, but we will. We are finishing out the 4th season. The 5th season will be kicking off in October. More than enough time for you guys to scrape together your pennies and support our Patreon. But before we do that, we need to talk about. We're going to run down the final 10 picks of the 4th season. We finally did it. We made it through. And I will quickly run through from the Latinx delegation, El Vejigante. From the Jewish delegation, Angelica Jones, aka Firestar. From the Southeast Asian delegation, Amy Han, aka White Fox. From the Black delegation, Galactus. From the multiracial delegation, North Star. From the Native American delegation, John Greycrow. From the white delegation, the Wasp. From the Polynesian delegation, the Vision.
Mm-hmm.
From the Swanamena delegation, Arnold Stark, Iron Man 2020. And the final pick, the last ever pick of season 4, from the Native American delegation, Shaman, aka Michael Two Young Men, which is a weird last name. I got to be honest. Two Young Men as a last name raises all types of questions. Was that like a YMCA joke? I don't get it. But we gotta dive in. Randy, what did you think about the last round of the supplemental draft overall?
I saw a number of defensive picks, and I continued my my ginger side agenda with the family training, and I feel like there was we had a couple of folks who I'm surprised did not get drafted earlier, but I mean, better late than never.
Yeah, I get that. Listen, I'm not against defensive picks, especially this late in the supplemental draft.
Mm-hmm.
You want to you want to get the characters who you think are important to the delegation. And like I mentioned before, in subsequent seasons, season 5, we're going to introduce our first ever keeper situation where you'll be able to draft characters that you'll be able to keep in subsequent seasons, and all the more reason for making defensive picks in those seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to kind of prep for that, you want to stay within the realm of these are characters that you really want, to hold on to for your respective delegations. You obviously want to get the approval points. You want to get people to see the vision. And if you're not gonna like put the time in and tell the story and get the fan cast and put the art out, sometimes you just got to be like, look, this is a character you already know. So but let's dive right in. Starting out, I've never heard of this character, got to be honest. This is a Puerto Rican character called El Vejigante, based on I think a mythological character from Puerto Rican lore. However, in Marvel, he is he's a legacy character who was given the powers to a man named Miguel Rodriguez. Semi-immortality, healing, and intangibility. He's got horns. And Jared, have you ever heard of this character?
El Vejigante. I'll be honest, I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Miguel
at
Rodriguez.
I'm looking at the bio here, and I'm not sure how accurate it is. It says the Vejigante appears as a spirit in the Marvel Universe. It passes from host to host, granting people in need of redemption superhuman powers. Those with the spirit cannot leave the island of Puerto Rico and must defend it against all. So
Yeah, so I mean, as long as he stays in Puerto Rico, he keeps the powers. So I mean, all that to me, that is definitively a Latino character. It would be weird if there was any other ethnicity that had those powers. And the people currently agree with 100% approval rating. By the time you listen to this show, listeners, that will probably be locked in. But currently sitting at 100% approval for Latino Vegigante, and I got no problems with it. You sometimes, at least the last round, you get the character. I don't know if that character shows up a bunch. I know, like I said,
I
he's
think he had a role in a one shot. I think that may be it.
But I do know that that's a figure that makes his way into, not the Marvel version of the character, but it's a figure that figures prominently in like parades and other kind of cultural celebrations in Puerto Rican culture.
Seems to be greater than the comics. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So from a cultural standpoint, I'm here for it. And so probably gonna score some bonus points, but we'll keep it moving, and we'll figure out how things go. Speaking of approval points, this one, it didn't quite hit the threshold. The Polynesian delegation, they drafted Union Jack, not the Union Jack that has been rumored to appear in Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion, right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. This Union Jack is, I believe, Joseph Chapman from the Polynesian delegation. Only 67% approval for this Union Jack. So, more on that later as we potentially discuss some trades. Moving on, the Jewish delegation sitting at 100% approval rating for Firestar. Jared, are you a fan of Firestar?
I actually I like Firestar. I watched the old
Spider-Man is Amazing Friends.
Yep, Spider-Man is and his Amazing Friends. So that was definitely my first exposure to Firestar. But like I read some of the old Ultimate Spider-Man comics where she featured pretty heavily. So yeah, I do like Angelica Jones, yes.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, as we know, she was recently promoted to the X-Men as part of their team. So, this could be a beginning of a big push for Firestar. And as a Jewish person, do you have any thoughts about any kind of elements that Jewish Firestar might bring to the table?
Well, I definitely think her place on the X-Men makes a lot of sense when you look at the X-Men have always kind of been that allegory for like for those persecuted during like the civil rights movement. But the X-Men were created by Jews.
Fair.
So I'd say that kind of element, I'd say it's fair to say that it expands to all persecuted people. And I'd say it's in line with the ideals and beliefs of the creators. So I'm all for it.
Okay. Yeah. And again, and the people are sitting at 100%.
Yeah.
So as if they stick with it, then bonus points in the offing for Jewish Firestar.
And you're welcome, because I was merciful enough not to negrify her this time around.
Oh, right, because your your anti ginger agenda strikes again.
Like, I came
Um,
that close. I came like a gnat's hair away from like trying to snatch up Angelica Jones.
well, you know, moving from 100% approval to decidedly less, we got to talk about the white delegation deciding to draft Atuma the week that the Black Panther trailer came out, and we got Latino Atuma. So they got to sit at their 28% approval rating for white Atuma. You might want to consider a trade. We'll get to that later. Moving on. Uh, this one, one of my favorites, close to my heart, and that is the South Asian delegation and their acquisition of, um, sorry, the Asian delegation's acquisition of Star Sapphire, aka
Is that Carol Ferris?
yes, thank you, Carol Ferris.
Okay.
Um, she is a Green Lantern love interest, also potentially rival, because she has the blue cosmic energy construct. Well, I mean, I would say it's more indigo cosmic energy constructs. So, big time for South Asians and making hard light constructs. But yeah, so as you know, the Star Sapphire is a jewel that is often found in India.
Mm-hmm.
And the Star of India is in fact a sapphire. So there's a lot of cultural reference here. And 100% approval rating, which means gotta give them the points.
So what we're saying is that, like, Carol Ferris is like the cousin, or like the alternate universe variant of Kamala Khan. Like, I mean, rather than wearing the bangle, she got like a ring, and it's the never.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're throwing down. Yeah. So
I'm here for it. It's very interesting line of thought. Like, I like it.
yeah. Moving on. This is a character that was recently drafted for the East, another defensive pick for the East Asian or East Southeast Asian delegation, but particularly this character is Korean, Amy Han, aka the White Fox.
Mm-hmm.
She's I think it's called the Kimiho, the
Kumiko,
nine-tailed
yeah.
the nine-tailed fox from Korean mythology. She is one of them, and she is also a spy. And she's kind of come into more prominence in the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And we mentioned last week that they're going to do a South African, a South Korean team in the fall. As we all know, South Korea is kind of blowing up right now in pop culture. Would not be surprised if she gets introduced into live action fairly soon. So, the White Fox, Korean character, Korean potential actress, and Korean mythology. 100% approval
Mm-hmm.
with a day left for the fans to solidify that. So we'll see. We'll see if it sticks. Um, this one is disappointing. I know, Randy. 88% approval, so not at the threshold for Black Medusa.
Ah, sad, sad,
I,
sad.
I know. I mean, who but a Black woman with hair that has a life of its own? Like it was. We almost had it all. You know.
Exactly. I mean, it's I don't know. It's I get the feeling like there's some saltiness around the Inhumans So I'm not gonna assume that there's any misogyny or racism or let alone the combination of the two, misogynoir. Surely I will give you all the benefit of the doubt. I'm just saying, it's, not a
Well,
great look.
well, you'll be happy to know that in the next season, it'll be slightly more of a sliding scale. So when you fall short of 90%, you'll still get some points, even if you don't get the full.
I mean, I feel like we should get some points anywhere after the 50% mark. Because like the 50% is like, but anything beyond that, maybe like 70, then 80, then whatever.
I'm setting it at 80, Randy.
Okay.
I'm setting it at 80. So you'll get some points at 80, and then you'll get more points at 90.
Okay.
So but not this season. Not this season. But something to aim for next season. However, speaking of things to aim for, your man Galactus sitting at 100% approval rating right now.
I'm not sure whether I should be flattered or insulted.
Well, as I mentioned when we talked about this, in our headcanon, he gets the heralds to season the planets before he eats them.
Correct.
So that's fine. I mean, the Silver Surfer, the seasoning surfer, he flies in. He just
the Silver Salter.
Hey, he comes in with some seasoning salt. You know what I mean? Some Lowry's.
Like, oh, this is an ocean world. We got to make sure we get some Old Bay. Make sure we do it right.
Right, exactly. He decides. He flies through and he decides exactly what seasoning each world needs, so that
one can never have too much garlic powder.
Yeah, so you're right. He's always got the sazon. He's got the garlic mix, the onion mix, but he's making sure that before Galactus shows up, that the planet is properly seasoned. So the people see the vision. I mean, and if we think about it, the helmet is kind of like a chef's hat.
Exactly.
So I understand. He is the devourer of worlds, but he's got to have some kind of like spice situation rocking. Jared, do you have any thoughts about Black Galactus?
Yeah, so when I picture Galactus, like when I read comics, do you guys, whenever you guys read comics, you hear like a voice in your head?
Okay. Yeah, sometimes.
So that voice is James Earl Jones.
Okay.
So, I mean, James Earl Jones is a very old man.
Fair.
So when it comes to adapting Galactus to the MCU, I could only would be the one to play him. If not, Keith David would be a suitable would be suitable in that role. Also Christopher Judge, and those are two black men. So I mean,
so it sounds like you're on board with Black Galactus.
I am.
All right. Well, you'll be happy to know we talked about this last week, Randy. Black Crystal, or Crystal as it were, 100% approval rating, which was kind of weird. I expected higher approval rating for Medusa than for Crystal, but no, not threatened at all by the unruly hair of Medusa, threatened by the unruly hair of Medusa, but not threatened by the more tame hair of Crystal.
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. I'm just saying that it's easy to understand how one might feel that.
Yeah. But I'm gonna give you the approval rating points nonetheless for Crystal. Also at 100% approval, but with some time to spare, Galactus's mother, who was family chained, Taia.
Yep.
100%. So we'll see if those things hold. See if they hold. Moving on. This is a pick from the current round. North Star, aka what is his name again? Jean Paul Bobier.
Yeah.
Jean Paul Bobier. I believe the ethnic breakdown for him was black. Sorry, was black, French, and Native and First Nations. So you know, Canadian is what we're saying. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Marginalized Canadians unite. He and his sister North Star was drafted, and Aurora was family chained. North Star is currently sitting at 100% approval, and so is Aurora. So if they both hold, those will be points for for approval. Not getting approval, and we talked about this extensively. And if you have any thoughts, Randy, let me know. That would be the Native American delegation and their ill-fated racial draft of Everett Ross. He
Oh
of
yeah,
the
I have numerous thoughts and multiple feelings. That's weird flex, but okay.
a weird flex, but not okay, is what I'm
I mean,
saying.
like I'm not sure what the train of thought was. Like it's I don't know. I think maybe we were expecting Everett Ross to show up in the Wakanda Forever trailer,
That is,
perhaps.
I mean, I'm sure that was the plan, but you
Right.
could have
Yeah.
drafted a Tuma.
Right. Yeah. There was no like there's no other kind of positive takeaway for that.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm gonna go ahead. I mean, I'm spoiling it. I'm spoiling another segment, guys. But I'm gonna go ahead and propose that the white delegation and the Native American delegation get it together and trade Atuma for Everett Ross,
Hmm.
because that both of those situations are better served on the other
Yeah.
delegation
I'm I'm
because
I'm not sure how you can swing Everett away from caucasity. Like that's
he was
like
literally
I can't imagine that.
created to embody the caucasity that the
Yeah.
black delegate or
Like
whatever
a
that
white
Wakan.
outside a white outside spectator of black culture. That's exactly who he was supposed to be, and like you can't really sort of hit that same note of sort of the outsider looking in, sort of doesn't recognize the profundity of all the melanin afoot. You can't
Right.
really do that with somebody.
No, no, you
Yeah,
really can't, especially because like he's always engaging in fuckery.
yeah.
Now, I mean, you know what I think the problem is? If you've never read a Black Panther book
Hmm.
and your only exposure to Everett Ross is Martin Freeman's
Right.
portrayal in the
Yeah,
movie,
that version of Everett Ross is relatively harmless and fairly nondescript. So yeah, exactly.
but like the Everett Ross from the books is like, remember well, I say remember like he's still not with us. Our buddy Lewis,
Hmm.
is he not
Yeah.
ever?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, need I say more? Yeah. But he yeah, he essentially we kind of have the outsider perspective of like what we get his internal commentary. Like he doesn't necessarily say something outright, but the narration of the story, Christopher Priest, the narration of the story is framed through his the lens of his perspective, and so you get sort of the background thoughts of like uh I don't know, just the descriptions of how he views T'Challa and how he views Wakanda, how he kind of views, all these uh, aspects of blackness, which don't necessarily tie specifically to Wakanda, but just kind of, in general. And it's giving colonizer. Like, yes, that's
Yes.
that's a white person. you can't you can't do that with anybody else.
I agree. Moving on, the multiracial delegation double dipping with two 100% approvals. The
Mm-hmm.
first is Captain Cold, who you might know as played by Wentworth Miller in the Arrowverse. Multiracial Captain Cold, 100% approval.
Yeah.
And also his sister, Family Chained, Golden Glider. I don't know if you've been watching the Harley Quinn show.
I have not.
At all, or just the current season?
I have to do my homework. I need to catch up on the whole show.
So, spoiler alert for the current season.
Mm-hmm.
She was introduced in the current season, and she's definitely not like, she doesn't look 100% white. Like, she looks a little like she's got a little something going on.
I mean, look, so Wentworth Miller is higher in complexion, but he's a biracial. Like, it's a fact, and a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, so I mean, it makes sense. There's nothing about his story that is like must be a white guy.
No, I agree. So yeah, so I'm here for it, and the people were here for it as well. So, go ahead with those multiracial points.
Mm-hmm.
The Native American delegation, still with some time left for the voters, but right now with a defensive pick of John Graycrow, unfortunately named Scalp Hunter.
Yeah.
But we don't use that name anymore. Sitting at 100%.
Yeah,
Jared, are you
they totally did away with calling him that. He's just your Grey Crow now.
Jared, are you a fan of Graycrow?
I mean, yeah, so I mean, I like most of Chris Claremont's stuff. But like not my favorite of all time.
Okay.
But yeah, he's
Have
fine.
you been reading him in the Marauders book?
Yeah. So I have.
Hellions.
Yeah, I feel like they've done a good job of redeeming him
Mm-hmm.
in the Marauders book.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is me. You gotta give me some space to clear out a little bit, because I'm mad at the people right now. The white delegation, they get a lot of crap. And shout out to Gordy.
Deservedly so.
Fair enough. But shout out to Gordy, who's a good sport. But every now and then there's a pick that, like, they draft someone and I'm like, yeah, that person should definitely be white. And then the people are like, no. But I'm like, no, but seriously, that they should definitely be white. And no one more pronounced than the literal wasp, Janet Van Dyne, who, even as a child, I was like, oh, I get it. Like, wasp, like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, who's also a superhero who's called the Wasp. And yet currently sitting at 80.3% approval rating.
I will say that, in the people's defense, which, when I have to be the defender of the people, it's serious. But in the people's defense, we have someone who probably isn't really looking great in the public eye right now.
Oh no, but we're talking about Janet Van Dyne.
No, yeah, I know, but a lot of people don't necessarily make that distinction or really care about the distinction. Like, Wasp as a hero name doesn't exactly have a great standing currently. That's her, and also generally kind of the X fans feeling like just F all the Avengers, just because, just on principle, and
So
that
you're
might
saying
account
that it
for
is less. You're saying it's less about, like, disapproving of the Wasp being white and just disapproving of the Wasp overall.
Correct. I feel like there's there was some conversation around the time of like when people were voting for who should be the new members of the X-Men. I think it was this year's vote, and people were like, just kind of all the Avengers are cops and blah blah blah, and they were like, nah, we're good. F Janet.
All
So
right,
yeah,
I hear that. I mean, I that's not really what the vote should be about. The
I
vote
know,
shouldn't be
I
about
know,
like
but
whether you approve of the character. It's just
no,
about,
yeah,
if
I know.
anything, if you don't fuck with the Wasp, then that's all the more reason that you should make her white.
I mean, yeah, I mean yeah,
um,
that's totally valid. But I feel like that might be what is, we gotta account for that aspect of just like generally not caring for the Wasp, or just kind of like disapproving of the Wasp in general, not necessarily the racialized aspect.
I got it. All right. I hear that. I don't approve, but I understand.
I
And
mean, like, look, I personally, I enjoy the character of the Wasp. I know she's, I haven't always agreed with some of the storylines that have been associated with her, but I do like the character, and I feel like, yeah, you can't really argue much for her to be another race, possibly biracial, but like, typically, uh, think of her in a context of the white woman. Uh, yeah,
and
but
she even has the cut. She even has the haircut.
yeah, she has the Karen haircut. Yeah. So,
I
but
mean, before it was a Karen, it was a Janet.
right,
Before,
she was the blueprint.
yeah. So, and we'll transition right there. So the Hope Van Dyne, she of the no vaccines,
Uh-huh.
75% approval rating.
Exactly.
Still much lower than it should be, because again,
Right.
giving caucasity, giving white woman.
That's all the more reason why I feel like the vote was in reference to the concept of the character herself and not specifically the racial aspect. Because like, yeah. So I
So
feel that was definitely a consideration there. And yeah, when you think about the Avengers, if you get some X fans up in the mix doing the voting, or like kind of, even maybe some Avengers fans don't necessarily hold her as like her being one of their faves. So
well, I might have to do a quote tweet and be like, if not white, then who?
if not white, then what? Like exactly.
Exactly. And then force people to have to be like, all right, I guess. All right, I guess she's white. All right. But staying in the realm of positive, the we talked about this last week. Jade Nguyen,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Cheshire.
aka aka Cheshire, 100% approval rating, as she should.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some family chains coming along with that. So wait for it. Wait for it. 100% approval rating for still Asian Cheshire. Also, 100% approval rating for her mother, Paula Nguyen,
Mm-hmm.
aka Huntress.
Mm-hmm.
Who, I mean, I guess it's actually a racial draft, because not in every incarnation is her mother Vietnamese. But on the Young Justice show, she's Vietnamese.
Mm-hmm.
Also, 100% approval rating for Artemis Croc, her sister. Also, 100% approval rating for her dad, Sportsmaster, who is white, but not
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And 100% approval rating for, wait, oh, where'd it go? Oh, yeah, 100% approval rating for her daughter,
Leanne. Yep.
Leanne Harper. So the Harper Nguyen Croc family drafted, racially drafted.
Yep.
I approve. I'm part of that 100%.
Nicely
Jared, do you
done.
watch Young Justice?
I do. Yep, I'm for
Were
it.
you a fan of that storyline?
Um, I was never. I mean, I was kind of impartial to it.
Okay.
Like I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. But yeah, I was. Yeah.
No, I was just saying. I mean, I like the dynamic between Cheshire and her sister Artemis, and like kind of like the ins and outs of like you know the problems with her dad being a supervillain, and Artemis trying to kind of go good, and you know what I mean. Like I thought it was. I'm not. I wasn't really attached to those characters from the comics, and I thought that
Mhm.
Young Justice did a good job of making me care about those characters on the show.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, Young Justice just is great at that, like the making you care aspect. So, I mean, sure.
Right. Randy, do you have any final thoughts about the Nguyen, Croc family?
I feel like the comic version could use some of that infusion of sort of, you know, careability, but uh that's just me. but
Mhm.
but yeah, I like it. I like it.
And I suppose we should shout out to also Stargirl, right? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
suppose Paula is Asian on that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Paula and their daughter Artemis is on that show.
okay, cool, cool. And I suppose she's Asian on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Racial drafting happening. Um, moving on to the Polynesian delegation. This one was a little controversial. Well, not really. Behind the scenes, it was controversial because the Polynesian delegation weren't exactly sure who they wanted to draft, and I sort of steered them in the direction of Vision. And yeah, right now, Vision for the Polynesian delegation currently sitting at 100%. They also family chained Viv Vision, who's also sitting at 100%. So, we'll see what happens with the people. But, you know, I don't specifically see it, the Polynesian aspect of it, but I don't reject it. What about you, Randy?
Well, I mean, I think that if you sort of have the idea that a Polynesian person created the vision, based on like, because in the comics they do where they sort of model the sort of mental template of Simon Williams. So instead, they modeled the mental template of some Polynesian person, and it's
Mm,
like he's very easy to sort of imagine like anybody literally could be like, oh yeah, we modeled him after Nelson Mandela, Barack Obama, whatever. You could be like anybody is sort of in that position because the sort of cognitive aspect of it was modeled after an existing human, so you could just choose
mm.
whatever person was in your particular delegation.
That's a good point. I mean, and as it happens, the Polynesian delegation did draft Hank Pym.
Hmm.
Um, so that it's you could see, Polynesian Hank Pym created
Mm-hmm.
Polynesian Ultron, who created Polynesian
Yeah.
Vision,
Yeah.
Um,
See, I'm seeing the vision. I like it exactly. See.
Okay. All right.
I gotta be honest. I'm not seeing the vision. Because you gotta go even further back than Hank Pym.
Oh yeah. You're right. You're right.
Because of the Human Torch. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
so I guess So like, how many? Because I actually had something else in mind. For Vision.
Okay. Talk
So
about it.
like, if so, in that case, Phineas Horton kind of has to be maybe Polynesian, and also in the MCU, Vision is patterned off of Tony
Jarvis.
Stark, Jarvis, but he's also a composite of Tony Stark and also Bruce Banner. Um,
Mm.
so I'm thinking, what if Vision was multiracial?
Ooh, I mean,
That's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I think the multiracial delegation probably would have drafted him,
Mm-hmm.
if not for the Polynesian delegation getting in there first.
Mm.
But I mean, again, it's one of those things where I'm not opposed to it,
Hmm.
but it wouldn't necessarily be my first choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. But the fact of like that lies at the root of this here is that yeah, he basically has his mind programmed from an existing person. So like, yeah, it's possible if you go through all the effort, you know, to try to draft all these other people, then yeah, you can make it
Yeah,
work.
but I would be remiss if I didn't mention
Hmm.
the fact that for the last like year and a half, uh, black people on the internet definitely racially drafted Vision as Vishon.
Yes,
Um,
correct.
and that could have been easy money for you, Randy, if you would have
Yeah,
went ahead and got Vishon. But I understand you don't always go with what's obvious, so I'm not
I
gonna be mad
I
at it.
I was busy on my war path to to erase the ginger menace from us. So yes, I was a tad busy this time go around.
All right, but we will continue on. So, Adam Warlock for the Jewish delegation. Jared, how do you feel about Jewish Adam Warlock?
Well, Adam Warlock is basically space Jesus, and as everyone knows, Jesus was Jewish, so you know, I'm all for it.
Nice. Nice. There we go. And again, 90%, that's the threshold. That's bonus points. Randy, talk through Adam Warlock for a
I
second.
I definitely need to read more of Adam Warlock. Like every time I hear his name mentioned, it's like in these like loving, reverent tones, and I'm like, I'm behind on that. I definitely need to read more.
Yeah, Adam Warlock is cool. Like, what I'm wondering is if Will Poulter, who's playing Adam Warlock
Hmm.
in Guardians 3, is he Jewish? So I'm actually gonna look that up.
Yeah, go ahead and do that, you know, because
Let's see.
I don't think he is, but if he
Google, don't
is,
fail me now.
maybe that's, yeah, maybe you guys might want to well, you already got your 90% approval,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
you
it
know.
says a 2007 article seems to state that Will's mother is Jewish.
Oh,
So by Jewish law, as
that is
long as the
right.
That makes
father
him
is
Jewish. Yeah.
Jewish, that makes him Jewish.
Oh, you
So,
guys could have got even extra bonus points for promoting that.
Hmm.
This is oh, I should mention this. One of the things that we're going to incorporate in the next season is I'm going to be a lot more liberal with the bonus points,
Hmm.
and when it comes to uh, depictions of the character in the racially drafted form,
Hmm.
whether it's like fan art or memes or fan casts, you know, there'd be extra points for their character. So that would be an example of where you would have got some extra bonus points for Will Poulter as a Jewish Adam Warlock.
mm,
So something to think about.
Time to take advantage of the Will Poulter zeitgeist or the poltergeist, as it were. I'm here for it. Absolutely.
Well played, Randy. The Swana Mena delegation went ahead and took advantage of a little tiny hole in the Tony Stark mythos
Hmm.
as they drafted Arno Stark, Tony's not biological brother. Um, Currently sitting at 83%, so not quite at the threshold with some days to get that point up. But yeah, the I don't know what you want to call him. He considers himself the superior Stark brother, but he's the lesser of the Stark brothers. Um, and family chained his biological parents, which would be Howard Stark and Maria Stark, who are currently sitting at 87.5 and 85% as we speak for approval rating. But yeah, the Persian Starks, who adopted Tony.
Hmm.
But yeah, we don't know how it's going to play out. And Native American delegation, though, like I said before, shaman or shaman rather. Sorry, um, Michael, two young men, which is still uncomfortable to say. Um, but yeah, 100% approval sitting at right now. We will see where it ends.
I mean, the last name, I'm not really sure how you can vote that down. Like, yeah, that sounds like he's African, actually. Like, no, that's
Yeah. I
it's right
mean,
there.
yeah, Native American character stays Native American for sure. So we missed one approval character who fell short of the threshold. This is going to hurt Carlos. 88% approval rating for Latino Parker Robbins, the
Uh,
Hood. Clearly, there
he
was not
should have
enough.
been black, exactly like I
Mm.
said.
Yeah, it's like I mean, he carries guns and his name is the Hood. I feel like person of color is probably the right thing for him, but
He should be black, exactly.
listen, this is trade week. We can talk about it now. Go ahead, make your case, Randy, for is there a character that you
I
consider
mean, see
trading
what
for?
else? I not particularly, but I'm open to the trade. I feel like it's I would get many a laugh and a chuckle if I was able to have the Black Hood, the black red hood, whatever the Hood who is black, and
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
just
he would be the Hood if we're being right, but
right,
like,
exactly. So I mean,
yeah.
he's had some appearances recently. He was in I believe he was in a Hawkeye
Oh yeah, he was
thing,
definitely part of the Hawkeye book.
and people were like speculating that he may
It's gonna
show up
be an
in
Ironheart.
Ironheart's thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I
and I
I
suspect that that's why Carlos,
hmm
was interested in drafting him because there's a strong rumor that Anthony Ramos
yeah,
is playing the Hood,
yep.
but it was not confirmed yet, and we'll still have to see whether that happens. So before we go, because we have been running a long show, I need to run down some proposed trades for the Black delegation since you're here,
hmm
and you let me know if you're considering it. Um, Here you go. Your guy, Arthur Curry, the
hmm
Aquaman for Jackson Hyde, the other Aquaman.
That is interesting, and I feel like it kind of feels obvious. It kind of, yeah,
I'll
because
listen. I'll take it a step further because
right,
is
exactly.
family chaining is possible. So
Yeah,
with Jackson Hyde, you also get Black
his
Manta.
mother. Well, yeah, you get Black Manta, you get his mother, you get his sister, I believe, and
Hmm.
yeah. So I mean, they're there, and yeah, I feel like that's definitely one worth considering.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Black Manta thing is like that's a slam dunk, right? Because
Hmm
like Black Manta can't be anything but black. So like
Right, exactly.
like even though it's kind of funny that like until you mention it, people are like, oh shit, he's like militant, or as I say, like Krillmonger. You know what I mean? He's like underwater militant black man.
hmm
Um, so I mean, it's right there for you if you want it. That's a potential trade.
We shall see.
You know, these other ones, this one is also a family chain potential, and that's your gal, Dinah Drake, the Black Canary,
Mm-hmm.
uh, to potentially be the multiracial canary,
Okay.
um, for Vixen and the Vixen's grandmother as well.
Now, see, I am tempted, but I would be more tempted if we were getting points for the webtoons comic.
Oh
So
yeah,
I will give that consideration, but it's not as strong a pull as trading Jackson for Arthur.
I hear that, but I mean, remember, at this point, all the points are totaled up.
Yeah.
So this is just a matter of whether you think you can hit the 90% approval
Oh
for
yeah, yeah, yeah. I absolutely think that it would probably get the 90% threshold. I mean that's yeah.
additional trades. Our guy Vandal Savage to the South Asian delegation.
Hmm.
I don't see a I don't know who you might consider trying to acquire from the South Asian delegation, but he's just kind of sitting there.
You don't like my Vandal v Savage light skinned architect of white supremacy.
Yeah, I mean, no, that was cool. That was cool. I'm not mad at it. Um, Also, this one, this one feels like a slam dunk, my
Hmm.
guy. Uh, Blade from the East Southeast Asian delegation,
Hmm.
because they can't do anything with Blade. For Tempest.
Huh. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I actually was thinking when I found out when I heard the news was announced that Ludi Lin had joined Aquaman. That's literally who I was thinking that he was going to be. I was like, oh yeah, they're bringing in Garth. That's great. But
Yeah,
you know, hmm, okay,
that's
I like that.
all right. There we go. That's a nice trade. Jared, would you like to play? Would you like to play the
Yes.
potential trades for the Jewish delegation?
Yeah.
All right. So right now, the Jewish delegation. Oh, I should quickly run down the Jewish delegation's characters, in case you were unaware. Uh, Peter Parker, Dick Grayson, Damian Wayne, Jane Foster, Jack of Hearts, Nightmare, Maverick, Quentin Quire, Abigail Brand, Sunspot, Legion, Rick Jones, Scott Free, Mr. Miracle, Black Widow, Selene, Mantis, Ant Man, Exodus, Hercules, Namorita, Steel, the Penguin, Ghost, Danny Ketch, Ghost Rider, uh, Ironheart, Adam Warlock, and Firestar. So one of the trades was Hal Jordan from the East Southeast Asian delegation for Mantis.
Hal Jordan for me. Okay. So obviously when I think of Mantis, the first thing that comes to mind is the actress that plays her in the
Mm-hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Um, so I could totally see, like, I could see this, um, I can see the other side losing Mantis. I wouldn't say that would be like I'd have trouble making the case for the Jewish over the East Asian. You said
So wait, no. So remember, sorry. So you would be getting Hal Jordan.
I would be getting Hal Jordan.
Yeah. Sorry,
Um,
you'd be getting how it was. So you would be trading away Mantis, who's currently part of the Jewish delegation, and you would be receiving. So it would be getting. You'd be Jewish Hal Jordan would be the outcome in exchange for giving away Mantis.
okay. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure this is true. I'm fairly sure that Hal Jordan's mom in the comics is Jewish.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
I would, yeah, I would totally make that trade.
All right.
And Mantis, even though it's not really acknowledged much in the comics, Mantis, her folks, her heritage is Vietnamese.
Mm-hmm. The
Oh
whole,
yeah,
yeah,
in the comics. Yeah, so like so the casting is actually accurate to the comics.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like, Mantis, just in the comics is complicated.
Fair. I mean,
But
she's got
yeah,
like plant heritage as well.
yeah,
Yes, that
Celestial Madonna and all that
Yeah.
gives me a headache. But yeah, I think that's a very fair trade.
okay. This one, I'm not sure if I could figure out a counter yet, but we can talk about it. Um, the East Southeast Asian delegation potentially trading Joker to the Jewish delegation.
Ooh,
How do you feel about Jewish Joker?
I mean, when I do, do I want that? Like, I mean, I'm trying to think. So I don't think any like has Joker like is Joaquin Phoenix Jewish?
I believe he is.
He is Jewish. So there's that. Um,
I mean, maybe it could explain the initial charm that he had toward Harley Quinn.
yeah.
Like, I mean,
So
that was like her first
Um,
impression
I
before she
mean,
got to
I was
like
just going
know.
to stereotype the fact that there are a lot of Jewish people in the comedy community.
I know I don't like I don't think I like like there's the Jewish grandfather jokes, like that's perpetuating like a bad stereotype. And also in the
Yeah.
Joker movie, like Joker lives in obviously Gotham City, which is New York circa like 1981. So of course he's Jewish. Yeah, and his name is Arthur Fleck. No, I don't want that. No. No.
Okay, I
And
like it. I like the outright rejection of Jewish Joker.
yeah, like Todd Phillips directed it, who I'm pretty sure is Jewish. Like that would be perpetuating a bad stereotype.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna
You're gonna turn that.
That's
You're gonna
gonna be
turn
a
that
no
down.
for me, dog.
Got it. This one I feel like is a no-brainer. We got to talk to Tomati. So Tomati currently has both. He has the Polynesian delegation has Professor X, but the Jewish delegation has his son Legion right now. But the Polynesian delegation has Kitty Pryde.
Oh,
So I
okay.
feel like Legion for Kitty Pryde is right there as a potential trade.
Yeah, but also there's Professor X, who was created by two Jews, Stanley
Fair.
and
But
uh
I mean, that's that's uh that's a stronger you,
It's fine. I also would not be too particularly enthusiastic about K Pride.
I mean, but Kitty Pryde, like when I think of Jewish superheroes, though, like Kitty Pryde comes to the top. So like,
Yeah.
she was always portrayed as Jewish when Professor X wasn't portrayed as Jewish. So there's also that, but there's also the argument that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created Magneto and Professor X. So everyone thinks that it's like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, but there were two Israeli guys that it's supposedly that's actually what they did. So there's also I think it would be Kitty Pryde. I think Kitty Pryde.
Well, you're gonna love this one then, because as you may not know, who is not, or as you know, his name was not mentioned on the Jewish delegation, and that would be Magneto.
Ooh.
So Magneto for Damian Wayne.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I fucking hate Damian Wayne. I'm sorry.
See,
Multiracial.
I have found my people. Yes, thank you. Welcome to the club.
Magneto is currently sitting with the multiracial delegation, but Damian Wayne,
like say no more. Like Magneto is there's I think the argument
the most significant racial draft
Mm-hmm.
for the Jewish delegation of all time.
Yeah. No, but I think the argument could be made that Magneto is the single most interesting comics character of all time. And that really stems from his origin in the Holocaust, like,
yeah,
like, but would that make his kids? But they're not even his kids now in the comics, though. Like,
not genetically,
right? But you would get sorry, you would get Polaris.
I would get Polaris.
You'd get Polaris in the deal.
It's a pretty sweet deal. I mean, yeah.
Additionally, these are additional trades. Ben Reilly, Peter Parker's, because you guys have Peter Parker, for Sunspot.
I don't love Ben Reilly.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm not such a huge fan of Ben Reilly, and I mean, which delegation has?
Oh, Ben sorry, Reilly? It's the multiracial delegation.
Multiracial. I'm not such a huge fan of Ben Reilly, and Sunspot is very similar to Magneto in the comics.
What do you mean?
So, I if I'm remembering correctly, isn't Sunspot's like whole origin like? Oh wait, actually, no, I was thinking of Sunfire.
No.
No. Yeah,
no, this is Roberto da Costa. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'd make the trade because Peter Parker probably is Jewish.
Yeah.
And yeah. So okay, and Roberto da Costa, I don't think the case. I don't think there's enough case that he is Jewish, or that that making him Jewish would enhance his character. And I got to think for the people.
I agree.
Does putting him with the multiracial delegation enhance his character? Yes, that like Roberto da Costa, a dark-skinned
Brazilian.
Like,
yeah. In the comics, he is multiracial.
Yes,
and not only is he multiracial, but his blackness is literally part of his origin story.
Yeah,
100%.
So yes.
So we couldn't fake, like, this is still in the exploratory phases. But how do you feel about Ilyana Rasputin from the Jewish delegation?
Ilyana Rasputin for the Jewish delegation. Do we have Colossus?
No, you did not. But
would that give us Colossus?
He would come. Yeah, he'd come along with the deal.
Okay. I'm for that.
I mean, there's some like serious Gollum energy right there.
I mean, with Colossus, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, they are Russian. They would probably be Ashkenazis, Yeah, I'm for that.
All right. Well, we got to figure out another side on that deal. That's all. They're also in the multiracial delegation, but haven't figured out the other side of that deal. But out there for the Jewish delegation, Ben Reilly, as Magneto, also there, and Ilyana and Pietro for the Jewish delegation could be yours if the Oh, sorry, Piotr. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I mixed up my Peter.
My ethnic Peter name. Yeah.
Exactly. Scanning. Um, Also haven't figured out a deal. The Native American delegation is sitting on Ben Grimm.
Oh,
Not sure.
we gotta change
Not
that.
not sure who you could offer for Ben Grimm to.
Ben Grimm is Jack Kirby.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ben
Yeah,
Grimm is Jack Kirby and a golem.
yeah.
So
I know. Not sure again, not sure who you could maybe Namorita. Um
I yeah. I mean especially with how Atlanteans or not Atlanteans are being portrayed in the upcoming Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Um if that is done well, it will probably translate. It will probably like seep a little bit into the comics. Um so I mean Namorita for Ben Grimm sounds like a fair trade.
yeah. I mean, we can talk about it. I feel like the biggest problem is that in the movie, as I understand it, that's not Namorita, that's Namora.
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
Yeah, but even so, I can understand the train of thought there because it's gonna be, they have every reason, I would put it that way, they would have every reason to integrate elements
Yeah.
of Mayan and or Aztec. Um, yeah, I personally feel like that would be an interesting. Yeah, I like it.
yeah. Oh, no, I'm just trying to cover all the bases.
Oh,
Let's see. Let me make sure I haven't forgotten any of the other potential trades. So yeah, Moon Knight is sitting out there. Um, for the white delegation is sitting on Moon Knight, but Moon Knight's one of those characters. I feel like the multiracial delegation also might want a piece of Moon Knight based on Oscar Isaac. Um,
Yeah, like I'm not really loving a Caucasian in the white hood and the it's triggering to me. Just call me sensitive. But,
that
yeah.
is that is definitely fair. That is definitely fair. Let me make sure I haven't missed any more black delegation trades. Um, do, 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 do.
Hmm.
Um, oh yeah, there's one. Um, Shift, the clone of Miles Morales,
Mm-hmm.
for Guy Gardner.
Mm-mm. No, I'm good.
You're so
I mean, I mean, look. Clones can be any race. They can kind of be any gender. They can, So I'm not that like hell bent on trying to keep Shift, and not having him be a ginger is deeply satisfying.
forgot about I forgot about your agenda. You're like
Yeah, it's deeply satisfying. So, too good to
so
pass up. Sorry.
so like even though I get it. I get it. Poor Guy Gardner. Not listen, he's just not a black man. I'm sorry. I don't see it.
I
I don't
look. I never said he was down for the cause. I just said he is now black. That's all that is. So
All right. Well, stay tuned, listeners,
I
over the
mean,
course.
he votes Republican. His hairline is messed up. It's
Right,
fine.
exactly. He definitely gets no respect in the black
He wants
barbershops.
to know. He wants to know why, if he can say it, why can't his white friends say it? Like, I mean, it's fine. We all know that guy, but that's Guy Gardner. Sorry.
That he's that guy, exactly.
That guy. Exactly.
He is everybody. He is their black friend.
Right. Exactly.
Black...
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, White delegation, certain trades can't happen for you. Sorry. So no, so does that also mean that Sam Guthrie's off the board? Do will not consider any Sam Guthrie trades?
That is correct. I am keeping Sam Guthrie. Cannonball. If I cannot have Sunspot, I will have one of them. I'm gonna get some of the New Mutants. I'm gonna get some of that good zesty New Mutants goodness in my trade somehow, in my draft somehow.
You were holding these well, not Oklahoma. Where are they from? They're from Kentucky. You were holding
Kentucky.
these Kentucky rednecks hostage.
I certainly am. Yes, correct.
Wow. All right, listeners. If you have some trades that you'd like to see shake out, go ahead and hit us up on social media. Racial Draft Pod. Me at MTFIII. Randy, what's your Twitter?
I'm at Randy S0725, and I like to use the hashtag superpowerlist.
And Jared, where can they find you on social media?
I am on Twitter at Jared Jared, the correct spelling, and KIRSCH_. And it's about like the only social I use.
All right. But yeah, we'll be here. We're closing out the season, but trades are still happening, which means approval polls are still happening, which means even though the season will be ending this week, you can stay tuned to all of our socials and see the trades, see us kind of fill in the final scoring and moving around of chess pieces for this season. Like I said before, the new season kicks off in October, but we're still going to be making moves. We're still going to be having podcasts. We're still going to be having cool discussions, and we're still going to explore the intricacies of what it would mean for these characters to be race bent. We're having fun, and hopefully you're having fun along with us. But until next time, guys, all things are possible.